All right, everybody, welcome to the Killer Main podcast series. This week we have the Hound Master, the newest killer to enter the fog, and my guest today is someone we've had on before for Skull Merchant, but has definitely been appreciative of the newest killer. If they would like to introduce themselves.
Hi, I am Pixel Bush. You might know me, mostly from YouTube, I should hope, for my videos on Dead by Daylight's lore, thin on the ground as it has been lately, and also for my non-stop yapping about Skull Merchant that has occupied my brain for the past year. But recently, I have found another killer I've really been able to sink my teeth into, and Merchant has been put on the shelf for now so that I can yap about the Houndmaster.
I think people have. I mean, you said it yourself. You are your tastes in killers are very what's the word I'd use? Unconventional, I guess would be the word.
I think I said at the end of my video actually recently, what can I say? I always liked an underdog. And I think, yeah, when I saw Hound Master on that PTB, I think I saw something a lot of people didn't yet. But at least, I think with Hound Master, I'm feeling a bit more vindicated by history as things have changed.
Yeah,
Feels good.
she's we'll probably get more into like what the power actually is a little later.
Absolutely.
But I think she's a good mix of like, and I don't mean this in the derogatory sense, but she's a good mix of like a dash killer with a killer that requires pre-planning, if that makes any sense. Like a lot of dash killers like
Yes.
have pre-planning, but it's more in the moment. Hers is
Yep.
very like a couple steps ahead. Similar
Absolutely.
to Pinhead.
Yes, and that is exactly what drew me to the killer over other dash killers.
Hmm.
She is. I described her initially as like she is to Wesker what Pinhead is to Nurse.
Mm,
Like they're mechanically similar, but that does not mean their gameplay is similar.
right.
Okay, because obviously Pinhead uses all that stuff to like, enable an enhanced M1 killer playstyle, and how Master does a kind of similar thing. She is the queen of distance denial, or one of the like several distance denial killers, but she doesn't like, obviously send herself in that direction.
Hmm.
She just has the doggo do it for her,
Yeah.
and the dog enables her in the same way that Pinhead's chains enable him.
Hmm. And I think the whole comparison thing to Pinhead and such, I say this every time people do this with because people do this with every new killer, especially now. It really depends on how reductive people want to be.
Absolutely.
Because I did a video on this. I think it's when I was first starting YouTube, so probably like a year and a half ago. I did a video on it going over every killer and how unique they technically are. And
Yeah,
again, if you really want to be reductive, there's only like 5 unique killers in the game.
genuinely. I think it's particularly obvious for Houndmaster because what you think of her and like the killers you relate her to
Hmm.
depend entirely on like which how you choose to look at her. Because if you choose to see Snug as effectively a dash, then you start to think of her as a Wesker like, or
Hmm.
maybe a Dracula wolf form adjacent thing.
Hmm.
If you see her as a ranged killer, then she's a death slinger with extra steps. If you see her as a like an M1 distance denial killer, then she's a pinhead. Like she's all sorts, and I find that to be very endearing.
Yeah, I mean she's got a lot going on in her kit, and
She really does.
the fact that they've kind of, I mean, we went from Vecna and Dracula, um, and I'm not going to call her. I mean, use the word simple in not the derogatory sense, but
Yeah,
she's more simple than they are in the sense of her power is just there's really only two parts to the power.
yeah, and then Chaser only really often using one.
Exactly. And I think that was kind of a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. Um,
Absolutely.
and also the fact that, I mean, honestly, like, first impressions are very important. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are still not going to like or want to play her because of the bugs she
Yeah,
did have and the bugs she,
her first impressions were really bad. I think they were bad, the worst than they deserved to be. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm really hoping she recovers from that in the longer term because it's really quite sad what happened to her early reputation.
Hmm. And we'll get into this with the
Yes,
with the recent changes, but I don't think that's actually helping. I
absolutely.
think the whiplash is actually going to hurt her more in the long run,
Perhaps.
reputation wise. But before we do, and you kind of alluded to it a bit, but what is it exactly about Handmaster though? If you had to narrow it down to a couple things that makes you enjoy her so much.
I think she does everything that I have liked in theory about historic dash killers that existed before,
Mm-hmm.
without having any of the bits I don't like. Because people think I'm averse to like movement, like fast movement in games, and I'm not. I just have pretty high standards for it. Like I'm a wrecking ball main in Overwatch, so like I love good movement, but it needs to actually really be good movement. And I don't think DB. I think DBD in general has the movement just hasn't really clicked with me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it very often devolves into a glorified distance zoning. Like the classic blight breaking a pallet with his spacebar and then rushing into you before you can reach the next pallet.
I played
Like,
Chucky. Yes.
I think even if he misses, he's still gained a load of distance on you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could make a mistake, but he's still benefited massively from his power just because it's given him distance. Houndmaster doesn't do that. She only gets distance if she hits you.
Right.
So in that regard, she's like a ranged killer. She's like Huntress or Deathslinger almost, where like she only gains distance if she actually lands the shot. But otherwise, she's just slowing herself down for no reason. But then she doesn't have the issue that the ranged killers have had, where they get dicked on by line of sight breakers. She interacts with terrain in completely unique ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like or like I've always liked the notion of like Wesker and Blight doing their hug techs and whatnot. Like I've liked that, but I've always found it becomes too map dependent. Where like some maps are great for hugging, and some maps are atrocious. It doesn't really like it feels too map dependent for me. Whereas Snug, because his hugging and sliding is built into the like the bones of how the power works, you've got a lot more you got a lot more game doing that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like every map has snug slide spots, and I love, I love exploring around and finding them. She really does have everything I've liked about dash killers, like all the technique that have defined the high skill ceiling dash killers, without the elements that have made them brain dead historically.
Mm-hmm.
Like Billy can play back to hook Barry very easily. Houndmaster can't. Blight can just run around his 3 gen like a teddy bear until Tinkerer like gives him whatever he needs. Houndmaster can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it encourages you to be skillful with the power, and that's exactly what I want.
Yeah, and like speaking of maps, again, we'll get into these more specifically later.
Yep.
I will say the only maps I have really been struggling on her, playing her myself, is probably just Midwich. I think it's the only one I've really been struggling on.
Fair enough. For me, I think there's only really one map that is really, really bad. Midwich isn't great, but there's only one map I'm like, I would rather really not be doing this. And on PTB, it was Larry's.
Mm-hmm.
But I've actually done, and the footage in the background right now is maybe an illustration of why. But I've learned to appreciate what Larry's can do for Houndmaster. Mm-hmm. It's another indoor map, though, that I cannot stand for her. But we'll get into that later, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I mean, all good reasons. I mean, again, especially, and I mean this in the kindest way possible. I know I keep saying that, but
Yes,
very unconventional killers in the sense of they're ones that fit a very specific niche. I feel are the ones that you
like they have to scratch an itch in a very particular way.
Yeah.
To occupy my brain in the right way. But Houndmaster's kind of got the formula perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps that she is like just as a character. I just like her as a character as well, which is a massive bonus. Like it's hard for me to get into playing a killer if I don't click with the character on some level, because I take this kind of thing quite seriously. Like in terms of character writing and all that sort of stuff. I couldn't see myself spending a lot of time on a character who, as a character, was boring to me.
I understand. I mean, that's the like the whole appeal of a game like this, and like
Yes.
hero shooters in general. I think it's the part a lot of people tend to forget.
Absolutely. Like, there's a reason everyone wants their favorite license in the game, and it's because they want to see their character expressed. And I like that and I'm exactly the same. I just feel that way for originals as well.
speaking a bit about, I guess, her strength
Yes.
and her reputation. So on release, she was, let's just call an egg an egg. She was very, very buggy.
She was extremely buggy.
Not as bad as old twins. I don't I understand people making that comparison, but it was not as bad as released twins.
I think people have recency bias when it comes to Houndmaster's bugs because they were pretty terrible. But a lot of people who recognize how terrible they were didn't play during the, I would consider, the holy trinity of buggy patches, which was Twins release, Trickster release, Resident Evil release.
Yeah.
You can't call a DBD update buggy until it makes an entire platform unplayable. Thanks for that, Resident Evil.
Jesus.
You're not.
But
you want to be RE so bad, but you're just not.
but I will say the people who did struggle through the bugs and were able to find, because I said that about her even on PTB, she was a killer. I feel like once people kind of figured her out, like not fully because that takes months, at least months.
Yes, especially with this killer.
But until people figured her out fully, like she was always going to appear weaker than she was, and the bugs weren't helping. But
Absolutely.
the people who were dedicated enough to do that would show the true power of her, and she really just needed quality of life things. Behavior going on break and doing what they always do may
Balancing with the sledgehammer.
may have over buffed her. I think we can all agree that it was might have been
just
a bit much.
Yeah.
And they're on break currently while we're recording this, so we're probably not going to get any changes at least until mid-January.
Agreed. So she got a little while like this, but she's out of the event queues. So if you want to avoid her that badly, you can just play the Bone Chill.
But the sentiment from the community, like the switch, was insane. And again, like and I hate bringing him up for this because it's not exactly the same, but and I can bring the other like four examples as well. It's very similar to Trickster, Chucky, Skull Merchant, Twins. I'm sure there's a couple others I'm not remembering when they did something like this before, where it took one patch and then everyone went from overly hating them or overly loving them to straight to the pendulum swing.
Probably Singularity. Maybe that's to a lesser degree than the others, but definitely Singularity after his buffs. I know a lot of people seem to be complaining about Singularity more than they used to. Like a lot of people. Although, in my opinion, that's justified, and I think was also a case of Singularities. Yeah, you know, I've not been a fan of Singularity.
I know, I'm aware.
And and I think that was also a lot of the people realizing, no, what, maybe I should dislike this killer before. But now he was now easier to play. But yeah, I think it honestly correlates more with difficulty than with actual power a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And bugs artificially increase the difficulty of a character, especially a technical character like Houndmaster. She had a perfect storm of a release that was not going to be received well, even though I will always insist people massively understated how powerful she was.
Well, I mean, people still do that to this day with Twins.
I was going to bring that example up later. That another killer I'm very familiar with is Twins, and I don't know how people that don't get that killer has been top 5 for basically their entire existence.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I think the only time they were ever, I'd say, out of the top 8 was when Circle of Healing was hard meta. Because then they were actually just awful because people were resetting faster than you could down them, and you couldn't do anything about it which sucked. But that was also a result of Circle being rampantly busted. Nothing to do with Twins themselves being a bad killer.
Yeah, and I mean, because the thing is, like Twins again, it's an example that, because whenever I see tier lists or whatever, Twins is I feel like they're like Hag to a degree where people seem to not agree that whether or not they're good or bad. I see some people put Twins in C tier sometimes, and
that's insane to me, especially after the buffs they got.
Yeah, I know.
Quality of life changes. That's wild. I don't understand that slightly.
Yeah, and then with Houndmaster, I mean, it was way too early to tell anyways, but I think even before the buffs, she was probably mid B. I would say she was mid B.
I think she was. I think she's probably low B. before. I think on PTB she was a slightly worse than Demogorgon. I don't think she was. Some people said she was like Trapper bad, and I'm like, no, that's absolutely insane. But I think once the search buffs hit when she came to live, she was probably again probably a bit low B, low mid B, and now is like
Yeah, just
a mid to high 80.
Speaking of those changes, of the changes that happened, I know you've been a little vocal about it as far as,
Yeah.
and many others have, that the only thing that needs to be adjusted mostly is the vault speed.
Yes.
And
Hands down.
I know she got a lot of changes. I probably can't list them all. Do you think that
Yeah.
that is realistically the only thing they need to touch for now, and then we see where things settle after that, or do you think there's
I think that would make her a perfectly reasonable killer. And the vault speed. The vault speed's complicated though, because because in the game files it was was always 0.45, and now sometimes she vaults at 0.45, but sometimes she vaults instantly. Like there isn't an animation, the dog just goes through the pallet, or like it's so quick you can't see it.
yeah, like
So
teleports?
I think some of the really egregious hits that people get are a result of bugs that make the dog vault way too quickly. So I think we fix that bug. Priority 1, fix that bug. Priority 2, I think we probably want to set the cooldown to a middle ground between 0.45 and 0.9, which is what it was on release. Maybe make it 0.7 and then go from there. As long as we can get it working properly, we don't know exactly, I think, what the number should be until it works properly. But they need to fix that ASAP, and they probably need to bring the cooldown back down to 4 seconds. But I think beyond that, I think she's basically fine the way she is.
Do you think the hitbox might be a little too generous?
I think the hitbox is fine.
Same.
You see occasional like shonky hits with Snug, but I think those come more from the fact that Snug doesn't have an LOS check when he is near a survivor, so he can literally bite you through walls. If it's a very thin wall, he can bite you through walls or like through corners because he doesn't have an LOS check. But that's not a hitbox issue. That's just the fact that he doesn't check LOS, but when he's grabbing you, that's a separate issue. So they're probably going to add an LOS check, which something that will hardly ever come into play, but on the odd occasion it'll stop you literally getting bitten through a wall, because that does happen sometimes.
The other thing, because I actually do think the hitbox, because that when she came out on PTB, that was like my only thing I want to change personally.
It's 0.5, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted the hitbox just a little bit bigger. It seemed way too unforgiving, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just bad.
No,
But
because I think because I was a little bit worried about making a hitbox bigger. I was quite scared, because like that's a thing that's historically been hard to balance. Killers with big hitboxes
right,
have been challenging to balance before. Like Wesker's had to have his adjusted half a dozen bloody times. Like Hillbilly's had his changed. A lot of killers have had their hitboxes adjusted over time. And I was worried that they'd overdo it with Houndmaster. I think 0.65 is kind of the sweet spot, though.
yeah, I think it's enough to be accurate, but also enough to for that little bit of leeway that's kind of required.
Yes, and accommodating ping on the survivor side as well, which is important.
Because there was a patch, I forget which patch it was, but there was a patch a little while ago where they, quote, fixed Huntress's hitboxes. And it made her miserable to play because the hatchets were like really accurate to what they should
Hatches were
be.
the size they're supposed to be, yeah.
And no one could land a hatchet because of a lot of reasons, but it's a thing with hitboxes in general. They have to have some give, because if they don't,
They do, yeah.
especially again in a game like this, if they don't have any give, it just doesn't feel good to use.
Indeed. Some might argue have a bit too much give, looking at you, Huntress, and then staring at you, Huntress, for quite some time. But as a general rule, yeah. I think Houndmaster's hitboxes are pretty much perfect the way they are. It is just tweak the vault speed to a middle ground between what it was live and what it is now, fix the vault speed bug, revert the cooldown, and then I think she's basically perfect. You could do some other small stuff, like obviously some add-on changes. Would be great, because our add-ons are not very interesting.
We'll get into that here in a second, actually.
Yeah, we'll get to that, I'm sure. But in general, I think she's mostly fine. It really is just the cooldown. Most egregiously the cooldown.
I do have one suggestion for a mechanic she could have. I don't know how
Okay.
feasible this would be. When she grabs a survivor, I would like it if she could redirect Snug manually.
I don't. I'm not sure. I think there was a good argument for that. I think back when Snug pulled you back to the location,
Mm-hmm.
like the way you were ordered from. But now I don't think that's necessary. Like Snug doesn't move that much anymore when he's grabbing onto somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, it's
I guess it probably wouldn't hurt, but also it adds like complication and bloat where it doesn't really need to be. I think.
yeah, fair enough. My thing with it would be like Snug, like let's say it's at the exit gate. I think this would be like the
Yeah.
biggest problem with it. Snug grabs someone at the exit gate, and like you can like order him to like pull them out so they're far enough to get hit. So I guess that would lead into situations like that, I suppose.
Well,
But
that's why he has the blocker. Like if you hit
yeah,
them, even if they're sniffing, kissing the gate, you hit them while Snug's grabbing them, they're still locked out for like 5 seconds.
hmm
Enough time for you to pick them up,
yeah, unless they're healthy.
unless they're healthy. But then that's why he runs to Biffle.
I had so many people. Like, I'm glad we're getting more killers that are just leave killers. I think every killer should have a mechanic like that. Personally,
Yeah, that would be nice.
uh, moving on a bit to add-ons though.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the one that everyone's talking about first. Knotted rope.
Okay, that's just disappointing.
What was it? 40 to 10 to 2?
Yes, it is now the same value for what it's worth, ladies and gentlemen, it's half as the Biffle stack. It is 0.054 seconds on attack cooldown reduction.
Before we get into the specifics of this, I do want to mention how long was Medusa's hair in the game like it was?
I think it was a chapter and a half
How long?
because it hit live and then it lasted till Houndmaster's just before Houndmaster's release. I think 'cause it was the second bug fix patch.
Yeah. And Chucky had rat poison since his release till the most recent patch.
Yes, and rat poison is still like a decent as well. If I know
Yeah,
correctly, like
yeah,
it's still like it's not.
it's still
They
fine.
didn't
Yeah.
murder it.
Yeah.
It's still a usable add-on.
Yeah, it should still be murdered, but I mean,
Yeah, fair enough.
yeah, my point is like this was the one they were scared of. This,
Yeah, like knotted rope. I they said the win rate on it was too high, and that's like the most behavior answer ever because they always say they don't balance around stats, and that's very obviously wrong. Like you can't talk to me, the merchant player, and say we don't balance around stats. Yeah, you bloody do. Do not lie to me.
according to Nightlight, didn't even work anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, knotted rope. At this point, just rework the add-on. They said
Yes.
they're going to, which is good, but it's atrociously bad, and that's really funny. Because I'd say it was at 10%. It was fine.
Yeah, I think it was
If
funny
anything,
10.
they could even have buffed it because the add-on was mediocre, and she's got a bunch of mediocre add-ons, and yet she's only ever had add-on nerfs.
Like I think the 10% was perfectly okay. It was
I think it was
again
perfectly fine.
it's one of those things where it's like it was a unique add-on. I think it was the only add-on that did anything like that.
Yes, and that might have been why they killed it. Like this doesn't give 15 seconds of blindness. Shoot it in the face, please. But I think it's a bit sad. But at the end of the day, there's this point just rework the add-on. What I would have liked to do maybe is give it 8% on hitting someone who Snug is holding, 8% on somebody who's Hound sent and it's stacked with itself.
Oh,
So you get 16% if they had both the effects on them at once. And that would be okay because Marlin Spike got nerfed and no longer apply Hound Sense to someone you grab. So like it would be more effective then if you are able to go search and then chase right after.
yeah, I can see that.
But if you only use one of them, it's less effective.
Yeah, I can't like. I'm trying to like understand their logic with them saying it was because of the win rate with it because her win rate wasn't even that high.
Yeah, well, I guess they say, oh, it's an outlier, so we've got to bring it down.
So,
kind
like-
of like they did with nerfing like Tombstone on Myers and whatnot.
Yeah, so like but my question would be like, is the win rate they're looking at like when she did win, she was only winning with this add-on? Is that what they were saying?
Quite possibly. We don't know for sure, but honestly, my firm suspicion is just they thought, oh, it's people are winning a lot more with this add-on than with other add-ons, like by a significant degree. So let's change that
Yeah, I'm sure.
by smacking that on the face in the same patch that they're gigabuffing the character.
Yeah, I'm sure that doesn't exist on any other killer.
True. Yeah, yeah. I see spirits without cherry blossom all the time, and they definitely win as much as the spirits who do have it.
Oh my god. I
And other
bet.
lies you can tell yourself.
I am self confident enough to admit that if I don't have cigar box on clown, even with it being bugged, I will probably lose.
Me with vital targeting processor on Skull Merchant. I am an addict for that add-on. I was before I got nerfed, and I still am.
Uh,
But also like, yeah, of course I'm gonna run it on current merchant.
uh, her other add-ons though, which are far less interesting. I don't know. There's only a few add-ons of hers that I know like for sure things about. I think
Yeah, they're not very interesting as a general rule.
yeah, the ones I'm using are the barley,
Sorry.
coconut, and I really, and I think I'm a weirdo for this because I'm the only one who's really mentioned it. The eerie wheel handle, I love that add-on.
Oh, the handle. Okay, I'm not a big fan of the handle, just because I'm not a fan of stealth in general on her, because hiding two entities is a bit awkward. But with Snugs on the Hunt, I can see the value of it. I don't really use the eerie handle though. But barley meal and coconut, though, especially coconut, like indispensable add-ons. Yeah, big fan of the big nut.
By the way,
I
your pronunciation of coconut in the video, immaculate.
Excellent. But yeah, young coconut is solid. Barley meal, I think, might be one of her best add-ons because it makes that like lethal range of straight up, like straight line dog zoning a lot longer, as you saw in that clip that just got played on screen. If anyone's watching that, it gives you a lot more reach on your first dash, which is the one that's more reliable. So you can zone, you can do the direct and standard zoning from much further away, which is pretty sweet. I think Water Skin is the healthier designed add-on because that improves the redirect range, and landing redirects is much harder to do. So I always wish the rarities were reversed, where like Barley Meal was higher rarity because it was a bit more brain dead compared to Water Skin. But yeah, those add-ons are great. Coconut's great. Marlin Spike is pretty foul because it gives Hound Sense like basically for like farting in the woods. And what I do like though is that Hound Sense is a vehicle for her add-ons. Like she's got loads of add-ons that give bonus effects to Hound Sense, which I really quite like. It makes her feel very modular. And of course, Marlin Spike makes all of those add-ons better. So Marlin Spike is pretty indispensable if you want to go for a Hound Sense build.
I do wish there was there's one add-on she has, the one that gives aura after Hound Sense ends.
Oh, Spyglass.
I do enjoy that add-on. My one caveat is I do wish she had an add-on that lowered the duration of Hound Sense to make it more more consistent's the wrong word.
I get that. Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. Like, Spyglass is such a. It's really good for a yellow. It's really, really good.
It is.
I think it's an add-on people sleep on a lot with her. But yeah, I fucking love Spyglass.
Yeah. Speaking of changes, by the way, or a little bit back to the changes.
Of course.
Do you think it would be too much if she reapplied Hound Sense?
I would almost. I don't really care. You know, like it's. I don't think it would do much because Hound Sense itself doesn't do much.
Right.
I think it would get really annoying with the add-ons, and that's the only reason why I think it would be something that I would care about.
Okay.
I would rather Hound Sense do more in that case. I'd rather have Hound Sense do more. If they wanted to change, like Hound Sense's interaction with survivors, I'd much rather just do something a little bit extra, make it a better tracking tool. Then I think we're in the money. One add-on combo I don't talk about though, and it's one that's been enabled by the cooldown decrease and in Snug's faster vault speed. So I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's the combo of Creature's Bone and Training Belt. Because Creature's Bone reduces your cooldown by its stun duration by half. The dogs get stunned for only half the time. And Training Bell reveals the aura of a survivor for 8 seconds whenever the dog gets stunned. So you face check a pallet, If they drop it, don't drop it, they get hit. If they do drop it, dog gets stunned. The dog recovers instantly, comes back to you instantly because the cooldown is so short. And you then have, of those 8 seconds you have, maybe 4.5 to 5 seconds of aura reading on the survivor to line up your hit. It's pretty nasty. Because with the aura reading on your first dash, you can almost guarantee a hit, or at least force them into a position where a redirect is going to get you a hit. So I'm a massive fan of the combo of Creature's Bone and Training Bell. In general, Creature's Bone is underrated because the cooldown add-on only takes a tiny sliver off your cooldown. But Creature's Bone gives you, after a stun, it gives you a much quicker recovery on your cooldown. Like Creature's Bone, I think, is a better cooldown add-on than her cooldown add-on. So if you ever want to run the cooldown add-on, just run Creature's Bone instead. Because that will, when it matters, it really matters. Because obviously, the only time your cooldown is ever actually decently long is when you get stunned, and Creature's Bone just negates that.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there's a little voice in your head going, "Run the cooldown add-on," don't run the cooldown add-on. Run Creature's Bone. It will do more for you when it matters.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people are arguing she doesn't have counterplay right now. But that being said, a lot of people are kind of just sitting at pallets and waiting for that stun.
Yeah, like I think she still has counterplay. It's just they've gone from a killer being too difficult to play at a bare bones level to being too easy, and that's just because of the vault speed. That's the only reason why. And that's something you can eat. It's just a case of killer being a bit overtuned, and that happens with new killers sometimes.
Yeah, I do feel
it's fine as long as it doesn't stay that way.
I do feel bad for the people who are starting to enjoy her now. And that's the reason why. And when she gets quote fixed again, that
Yeah,
they're probably going to be real disappointed.
yeah, maybe. But the thing is, if they've learned to play the killer decently, then it won't matter. Especially because I don't think they're going to go the full way back to 0.9 seconds on vault speed either. I'm hoping they understand the concept of nuance this time around, and realize that these were the vault speed in particular was something that did need to be changed, but not as much as it got changed. Just like do what they did with Thrill and like halfway it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that most people aren't complaining about Thrill right now.
Yeah, I see people running it, but not people complaining about it very much.
Yeah, I like the Thrill's in the spot it's in now because it makes totem builds more viable, and I think it's always a good thing.
I've been running Thrill for years.
I know you have.
Yeah, I'm an old fart. I'm back in my day when Artist first came out. I was running Thrill Pentimento builds. I was doing it before it was cool. So I'm just seeing the build I already ran get better. I'm like, cool, thanks for that. Cheers.
I remember 6.1 dropped, and no, it wasn't 6.1. It was the first patch that Ghostface got buffed.
Okay.
I remember that patch because they buffed Ghostface, and every perk I ran on him. And I was like, yes, the behavior loves me today. All right.
That'll do it. That will, in fact, do it.
Now, one of those perks was knockout, so I'm not happy about that. But
yeah, never mind.
I still think people forget they buffed knockout at one point.
They did. Reasons unknown, but they did.
Oh, man, why?
Screw that perk.
And her other items, like, her purples are actually an interesting case of, I want to say, like, they're niche, but not super niche, if that makes any sense. Like,
they remind me a lot of knights, actually. You know, when knights feel very modular, like they want you to do very specific things, but you can do them else whenever you want. That's how Houndmasters feel. Like leather harness is good because it's just a speed add-on, and concentrate a bit more speed. Actually, because it gives you much more speed than Young Coconut does, 15% for 30 seconds every time you gen completed, and that's permanent in the end game. But Marlin Spike just enables all the Hound Sense synergy you could ever want, because it gives you Hound Sense like whenever Jesus blinks. You've got Ship Figurehead, which is one of my favourite add-ons on her because of a certain perk I run, which you'll get to later. I'm sure you've noticed it if you're watching the background footage.
And you won't shut up.
I should have about it. What's the other one?
It's the action speed.
Oh yes, Gunpowder Tin. Yeah, and that's just great. Gunpowder Tin is just great for like pure chase violence, you know.
It also synergizes. It synergizes really well with with Jagged Compass and Pop Goes a Weasel as
It
well.
really does, yeah.
I don't know if that was on purpose, but it's incredible that it
Yeah,
synergizes with one of her
absolutely.
teachables.
It helps, yeah.
And then her iridescence, which again I know most people don't like it, and no one's really talking about it. I really enjoy ship handle. I don't know what it is about that add-on. I just like it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like, it kind of reminds me of Pyramid Head's his Untitled Battle, except if it was well designed. And I feel a similar way. I much prefer her other area though. I love Torn Novel. I describe that as rat poison, but fair. Because it really is. It really is. Like, you
Yeah,
can
it
see the
is.
aura around where you use the thing. Like, it feels like rat poison, but more metal, and I quite like that. Yeah, it feels like yardstick. It feels like yardstick. That's what it is. Yardstick. If Chucky Scamper did something, if Chucky
What
Scamper was more useful.
what is the range on Snug Base? Do you know?
I think it's 20 meters per dash. I think
Okay, I was
it's
curious.
a lot.
I was curious if they because fun fact about Yardstick on Chucky, at least before the changes they just did, the range on Slice and Dice was 16 meters, and Yardstick's range is 16 meters.
I see.
So they perfectly had the distances set up. So
Yeah, I nailed it.
yeah, I was just curious if maybe how if that one did the same where it's the
I'm
exact
not.
same distance.
I don't know the exact numbers on Houndmaster's dash. I thought it was 20, but now I'm doubting myself. I'll have another look just to make sure.
It's how do you test distance, by the way? I'm curious.
I do this. I did a really interesting test where I go on the wiki and look at the numbers.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, like
I listen.
I'm relying on smarter people than me to figure that out for me.
For Chucky's, I looked at every single thing that gives some form of like exact distance. So we used
Yes.
yardstick for 16 meters. Good guy eyes is 20 meters. I had someone run small game because that's 12 meters. We used kindred. And then we would like, and then we even used I'm all ears because that's 48 meters just to make sure.
Yes.
It's funny how you can use that stuff because most people tell me the walls on I think it's Auto Haven, like the wall pillars are like 1 meter or something,
Yes.
and I just don't trust that. Ugh. But as far as her ears go, I do want to commend behavior, by the way, on this because this has been the case for every killer released in the past. I want to say almost a year and a half now.
Yeah.
There is not a single exposed add-on.
Yeah. And I think I know why. Because killers get exposed add-ons get it because they're not particularly good with exposed most of the time. But Houndmaster is insane with exposed. So you kind of can't give her an add-on that does that because it would be obnoxious. It would be it would be Pinky Finger on crack. It would be like old launch iridescent light pack. It would be that on crack. You cannot give her an exposed add-on safely. That's a really dangerous thing to do.
I would
Same
still,
reason twins don't have a mangled add-on.
yeah. I still, I'm still gonna fight tooth and nail that Dracula should have a mangled hemorrhage add-on. He's a vampire. He's a vampire.
True. Like,
If there was a
they can believe it's him.
if there was a killer that should have a mangled and hemorrhage at least hemorrhage. It should be
Yeah.
Dracula.
Yeah, I just double checked, and it is 20 meters for the dash.
It is 20. Okay.
So
wait.
it's pretty long.
Wait, individually, right?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I that makes sense. Like that sounds about right.
The numbers seem right.
Yeah. Where was I going with this? Moving on a bit from her add-ons, unless you have anything else to really add about that. I mean, is there any changes you would do to her add-ons other than the obvious one?
I think I hate to say it, but I would probably rework ship wheel handle, but I also don't really care either way. So it's like it's not a big deal there.
What would you rework it to if you?
I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about it. I just know I don't really like it myself because I find stealth to just not be particularly useful on her. I think you're not about rework. I'm looking at the list now. I think also rework the cooldown add-on. Rework Smoke Snapper because again, if you can't give it a number that makes it impactful, it probably shouldn't exist. You can't make a cooldown too short because otherwise you end up in really obnoxious situations. But you also don't want an add-on that doesn't do anything. So rework Smoke Snapper completely, give it a whole new effect. I think maybe an add-on that, honestly, if they wanted to be more conservative with the vault speed, you could make it so that, oh, this is like your vault speed, make it a vault speed add-on, but on redirects.
Mm.
Like if you really want the zero point 0.4 seconds or whatever, cool, you get that on, or 0.6 or whatever. Put it on, like have that on a redirect, and put that on a yellow add-on slot maybe.
I'm a fan of that philosophy of taking like mechanics that got kind of deleted and making them
Yeah,
add-ons so people who still like them have some way to do it still.
yeah, you could do that. Beyond those, I think I'm kind of chill with most of her add-ons now, especially with the combo of Creature's Bone and Training Bell being so nice together. I was thinking a lot of her add-ons, they give you beneficial stats. They benefit your stats, but not in ways you often actually feel. Benefit they give you something you like, but not enough of it that you'll really notice that often, which is a bit of a shame. But I think she also is a hard killer to make add-ons for, because if you go to overboard any number, she becomes very obnoxious. So I'm fine with her add-ons being like that, as long as they'll at least give you something. You know,
Yeah.
you don't need to feel it, but it should give you something.
Yeah, and I do appreciate a lot of her add-ons are very modular is the wrong. I like to say a lot of them are personal, if that makes any sense.
Yes,
Like like she's a killer with add-ons that I feel that like you can ask 10 Houndmaster players and they'll probably have a different set they run.
absolutely. Like I know I've got a friend who swears by Marlin Spike and runs like Marlin Spike builds,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't really run that on so much, but I run a lot of Ship Figurehead. I run a lot of Young Coconut and occasionally the Creature's Bone Training Bell combo.
Mm-hmm.
It's very. Their add-ons are like to, kind of like twins add-ons. They like to come in pairs, like Creature's Bone Training Bell, like one of the range add-ons plus Coconut, or one of the range add-ons plus Speed. Like they come in little packages, and I quite like that.
Uh, also, behavior. Can you pull a riot and call Houndmaster? What is her? I'm gonna mess up her real name. Is it Portia? It's Portia, right?
Porsche,
Portia. Okay, I can't read.
fair enough.
But just call her Portia and Snug. Why are we gonna call her the Houndmaster? Just
No, I, I see why they call her the Hound Master, because it's like, yeah, they have to keep in the convention,
the.
like the X and Y.
Mhm.
But the fact that in the power descriptions and everything they call Snug the dog, that's no excuse. His name is Snug. Like
Also,
you don't call Victor the brother. No, no. Or
speak
he's Snug. His name is Snug, and he's a good boy. Fucking
speak
treat him with respect.
speaking of Snug and Victor. Behavior. Can we change the wording on all the Victor kick add-ons now? Because all of Houndmasters say the person responsible, because that's how it should
Yeah.
be.
Yes. Like don't be mean to the dog or the little Frenchman, because otherwise you'll be in for a world of pain.
I remember reading that on PTB and losing my mind.
Yeah.
It's so. Um. Speaking of, you would probably know this more than me. So the skin that released, the one with the
Yes, the Ultimate
poodle,
Houndmaster.
yeah, the poodle one. Um,
Yes.
do you know the dog's name in that skin? Because it is a different dog, right?
It is a different dog, but we don't know the name. Because the only dogs she's had that we know the names of are Snug and his siblings, who are all obviously all Cane Corsos.
Mm-hmm.
They're named in her lore, but the rest of them we don't know. At least not as far as I'm aware. I've read the complaint descriptions and they weren't in those.
I
So we
wonder.
don't know. It probably was a dog she owned canonically,
Mhm.
because it is said in her lore that she had guard dogs all throughout her life, like different guard dogs. So presumably it was one of those, but we don't have an actual name for them yet.
Yeah, and speaking of the dogs, I think the poodle skin, as much as I love that they made it, I think the poodle skin proves my points I made of how good it was. Snug's design is somehow cute and intimidating.
He is, yeah. He's delightful. And I said that, and I said that was intentional choice too. Like
Hmm.
in the live stream for Doom Course, I said we first of all didn't make him a pit bull because of this, all the bad reputation the pit bulls get.
Right.
But they were also Cane Corsos don't have a great reputation either. So they intentionally designed him in a way that unless he's chasing you, he looks quite friendly.
Hmm.
Like everything from the pet the dog emote to like So like the fact that he looks kind of old a lot of the time, like he's
Yeah,
got like a lot of grey in his fur.
yeah, and
Um,
they did. I mentioned this before. One thing that they did really well was if you look at him from the neck up or his biceps, it's not called biceps on dogs, but
yeah,
the pecs.
yeah, the
If you
dog
look
pecs, yeah,
up from there, like his face, it's very droopy and very like
yeah, it's
old
old.
looking, which helps with like humanizing is the wrong word, but it makes him look
Yes,
very
no, humanizing is the right word, I think, actually in this case.
yeah, it makes him look very approachable. But then once you
Yes,
start to look it down, you see that he is
he's
built like a
just a chunk
man.
of muscle.
Yeah, he's built like a man who's been in prison for 20 years.
Exactly where he has been. But no, you're exactly right. Like he gets that duality perfectly between looking like a good boy and looking like he'll fucking tear your face off. And I love that.
And
It's a very nice balance they've hit.
yeah, and I think the poodle skin proves it even more because I might get blasphemy for this. I think the poodle looks too intimidating.
I think the poodle looks scarier than the King Corso.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they did like don't get me wrong, it's an immaculately made skin.
It
But
is, yes.
I think it just proves how good they did with making Snug.
Yeah, space design. It's so good. And like I've had some fun with it too because I've got artist friends who've made like art for Porsche, and I put one in the thumbnail of my new video. Chip,
Mm.
absolute gem. The art that they have done of Porsche and Snug, and especially Snug, has made it makes me very happy because like every time people look at Snug and say, "Oh, he's cute," like that's seeing the bright side of a chapter that a lot of people haven't seen the bright side of, and
Mhm.
it's just one of those little things that makes me happy about Doom Course and about the Houndmaster.
Yeah, and we'll get into another thing people have a problem with this chapter,
Yep,
and one that I've been very vocal about because of my heritage. Uh,
of course.
so we'll get into that a little later. But yeah, there was a lot more than just the bugs that people were upset about. And one of them, we'll talk about it. I won't go too deep into it, but it's one that irritates me a lot.
Yeah,
But moving on from the add-ons a bit, is there a dream add-on you have before I actually move on from that?
I hadn't really thought about it.
I,
Honestly, actually, here's would be a nice one: a brown add-on that switches the sound cues, the whistles, for search and chase mode,
so
because she has distinct whistles for
mhm.
each mode. Chase is one whistle, like it's, but search mode is it's two whistles.
Mm.
So I would like an add-on, a brown add-on that lets you switch it,
Similar
just to
to
mess with people's heads.
yeah, similar to VHS corn on
Exactly,
on clown.
exactly. Just let you mess with their heads.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I think the one add-on I kind of wish was a little better. I forget which one it is. It's the one that gives the search path 2% extra movement speed. Now, to be
Yes,
clear,
stick pitch.
when I talked about making this one better, this is before they fixed the quote bug that it didn't work in chase. That
Yeah.
none of us thought was a bug. We thought that was all
Yeah,
in.
we all thought. Yeah, I thought this was the way it worked.
I still think it could be buffed a little bit, but maybe only outside of chase.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I don't know how hard that would be to code or if it would be like unintuitive, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think I would be wouldn't be a bad idea.
Also,
I am a little hesitant of making Haste Master too good. You know, like just
yeah.
making Chase search maybe what you use in Chase. But if they can keep it out of Chase, then I think they're probably in a good spot.
Also, I just remembered something about the search speed, and I forgot about it. Great, I will remember in 10 minutes. I'm sure.
Yes, I'll stop watch.
Moving on to her teachables. Again, an
Yes,
aspect of killers that people tend to not talk about and forget for some reason.
indeed.
Okay, her teachables are interesting.
Yes.
Very flip floppy, and I think I'm going to start with probably the worst one of the bunch, which is no quarter.
I was about to say, if you're not about to say no quarter, I'm going to throw you off a building. No quarter is atrocious, but it's atrocious in a way that you also can't buff it.
No, you can't. There is a change they could do to it, and I think they might if people don't start using it
Yeah, and I'm worried because that change would be scary,
because
really scary.
you know what the change is, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do know.
Make it all healing, not just self healing.
Yeah, that would be the only thing that would make the perk useful, and that would make it obnoxious and stupidly oppressive.
Especially on certain killers.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Um,
Chucky would have a field day with that, by the way.
have you heard a wonderful killer that we call the twins?
Oh yeah, twins. Yeah, that would be one of the most reliable brokens in the game.
Yeah, because right now twins, they're kind of doing all right for anti-healing perks because obviously Gift of Pain just got a buff, as we'll talk about later.
Hmm.
But also leverage. Soppy obviously has been clobbered to death because Mangle doesn't do anything if it's applied mid-chase because of the duration.
Yeah, force hezi is still a common thing on twins.
Yeah, force penance. It's still great.
Oh, I meant penance. Yeah.
Yes, I assume so. But yeah, force penance is still the go-to on twins, I think. But the last thing you want to do is give them a really good source of continuous healing prevention in a no quarter buff like that. Do not do that for twins or Oni. Honestly, Oni would be
Oh
pretty
my
lame with that.
god, yeah.
But I still think twins are a worst case scenario for that. Like you don't want twins to have that.
And I think it's the thing with it's similar to well, I might eat my words on this. It's similar to how Quick Gambit was, where I claimed Quick Gambit can never be. It's either a perk that's too good or useless. It can never be both.
Yeah, like I don't like Quick Gambit. They buffed it. They obviously ran it map wide, but I still think it's a stupid perk. I don't necessarily think it's too strong. I just think it. I just think it. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's impossible to balance.
Yeah, unless they just make it so it's an aura reading perk while you're in chase, which would actually be kind of nice.
Yeah. Kind of like troubleshooter.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I don't run it much now, and thank God a lot of people don't run it.
Yep, it's a bit much. Yeah, it's a lot. It does more, especially like weaker killers. It really punishes weaker killers.
But the thing with it too is like I think no quarter like because again like on its own, and this is a situation with a lot of perks on its own. I actually don't think it would be that bad. But it's the fact that it can be combined with other stuff and specific killers that makes it the issue.
Yeah, like twins, Oni, spirit,
even like
what's that? You're injured in a spirit? Yeah, die.
Yeah, and again, like even Chucky can abuse it. The one thing, like as most Chucky players, the one thing we want is people to stay injured.
Of course.
You're virtually exposed.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I don't know what else they could realistically do to it other than making it work on all healing.
Yeah, you just kind of can't, like, self-healing happens infrequently enough. That it's just not going to be useful unless they get a secondary effect or something. But yeah, no quarter, it's kind of a mistake. And it's a shame because the idea of merciless normal healing is good, but in practice, I don't think you can make it function.
I think my only rework idea would be something that isn't even what the perk is. It would be like you're oblivious. If you're in the killer's terror radius while healing, you become oblivious or something.
I could see that.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
But as it stands now, again, I think it's just a perk that's gonna settle into the depths of perks that can't be buffed and will forever be useless.
And then 18 months are going to buff it anyway, and it's going to be meta for 2 weeks, and then they're going to have to nerf it back again.
It's never happened. It's never happened, especially recently.
Never happened before ever. Yeah, it's not. Let's forget Thread of the Hunt and Thanatophobia exist.
Oh man, I forgot about Thanatophobia. I forgot that was meta for like a week.
Yeah, and then they just beat it back down to even worse than it was before.
Oh my god. Oh man, that week of and the worst thing about Thanato was like it was good on Legion.
That's the thing. They went, okay, Thana's only really seen play on Legion or Plague, so let's buff it and make it useful on everybody. And then they buffed it and it was broken, so then they set it back to being only usable on Legion and Plague.
And even then, most Legion and Plague players will tell you don't run it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. Like I used to be a Plague player like a lot, and I never recommended Thanatophobia. Like if you want to run a perk like that, run Blood Echo.
Yeah, like
people will like strangle their firstborn to get their exhaustion back if you take it from the Blood Echo. So just do that.
And then her other two perks. I'm gonna forget the last one. Jagged Compass. What's the last one? Is Jagged Compass, and what's the other one?
Or Shaking Thunder.
Thunder Thighs. Right.
Yep.
By the way, behavior. Add into. I know you can do this because if I type BBQ in the search bar, barbecue and chili comes up. Add into the search bar. I can type Thunder Thighs and it comes up. Please. We'll talk about that one first because I think it's the more interesting one. I think it's great. I don't think it's good or meta. I just think it's a good perk.
I think it's solid, especially on a couple of killers. Not Hound Master, really. She doesn't need the lunge range.
Hmm.
The whole point of the dog is that you just pulls you back into your lunge range regardless. But I think biggest winners, Wraith, Dread, Sadako. Because those three killers can... I've done it with Dread myself, where, especially in Nightfall, you teleport to a high place, drop, teleport somewhere else, and you just have lunge range here now. And because there's usually lockers spawning near hills or in shack over basement, so you can use the basement stairs to drop and then get it off. So Dredge can keep it coming. Wraith already has a longer lunge, so that stacks with All Shaking Thunder. And Sadako, similar thing to Dredge, like she can teleport to a TV on a hill or something, or on top of a building, drop down, teleport to another TV, immediately use that lunge range. Any other killer, I'm not sold on it, but it can probably do all right.
It's. I mean, in terms of strength, no, but again, it's a perk that I feel is it's just fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And legitimately, if you haven't played Dread It out on Dredge yet, especially if you're running Nightfall add-ons like Malthinker Skull, they crack at it. You're going to have a lot of fun. I know, I sure as hell have.
I didn't even think about it on Dredge. It's actually hilarious. You know it stacks with Unrelenting, right?
I didn't. I didn't realize it, but it makes sense now that you're saying it.
Yeah, because it's on a timer.
Yes.
Yeah, someone told me that. I tried it on Chucky with Unrelenting, and I was just skating around the map. It actually, it's funny, if you're a 110 movement speed killer, you actually move faster if you get, if you're running Unrelenting in that perk and just swinging your weapon.
That's amazing. I love that.
It's really fucking stupid. It also stacks
Yeah.
with, it doesn't stack with it, but it has a really good synergy with save if you can get to 8 stacks.
Oh, absolutely. They just die. Yeah, that checks out.
Again, it's a really well designed perk, and the fact that it's on a 5-second cooldown. The one problem it has is that not every map has the perfect places to use it. But
Absolutely, which is why you put it on killers who can get to where they do get the chance to use it. You run it on Dredge, Wraith, Sadako, job done.
Someone told me that it apparently that they mentioned in a forum post they're talking about nerfing it, which I hope is not true. This hasn't been confirmed by me. I haven't looked into it.
That would be really peculiar to nerf that perk. I've not seen anyone use it.
I don't know.
I run it occasionally, but I've literally not seen a single person running it except for one Houndmaster adept.
Like
no one else is running it.
I don't even know what you would nerf on it. The cooldown, I guess.
Probably the duration, like how long you have the lunge in your pocket after you drop. But what a bizarre. Like again, we're behaving. We don't nerf our numbers, guys. Anyway, this perk no one uses but has a high win rate. We're gonna kill it. Like, don't make me laugh.
I really want to see behavior stats right now. I want to.
Me too.
Just because I mentioned it earlier, and I don't want to bring this up too much, but I mean, obviously, my killer's kill rate went to number 2 on the boards, but I'm curious because Skull Merchant is like, I think she's like number 8 right now, highest kill rate in the game. I want to see their numbers because I'm curious what they're thinking right now.
Because obviously merchants dropped really low for a time. It's kind of bounced back again. But I think I'm being cynical here. But I think the reason merchants is going up against it, people are going back to giving up against her again.
Yeah, I wouldn't think
that's what's doing it. Because I played merchant again a bit recently, and it's still happening. People are going back to do exactly what they used to do.
Oh, I still get DCs as Chucky if it makes you feel any better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just genuinely curious. I want to see their numbers so bad. Like,
yeah, me too. I want to see how low merchant's pick rate is. I want to see how subterranean that number has gone, because the lowest I saw on Nightlight was 0.57%.
Yeah,
I've never seen a killer get that low.
She's the lowest in the game right now, according to
right now is the lowest. Yeah.
Before anyone says anything, Nightlight isn't perfect, but
no, it's not.
It's all we have. It's all we have.
Until behavior gives us proper stats, which is what we all want. Then that's that is the best we've got, and that's I remember even I was on the forum post. People were calling out merchant's kill rate being super low because at that point it had dropped to like 43%. And I think it was Mandy Talk in the replies on the thread saying, "Oh, these are third party stats, they're not official numbers." And so a dozen people, including me, all asked, "Okay, so what are the official numbers?" We didn't get a response. It's like don't trust third-party stats, but we're not going to give you
We're not
we're not
going to
going to
give you
give
the
you
real
better ones,
ones, yeah.
which is really awesome. Like I've been an advocate for just yelling at behavior, telling them because whenever they make a new killer or rework a killer, they always like to give their little stats after they do it.
Hmm.
Like, oh, this is how often Vecna was played, or how often Billy's played after we reworked him. Look at all our numbers now. I want them to do that for Merchant because I want to see how far the mighty have fallen.
It's just very baffling, and
It really
I
is.
understand why they don't do it. I do, but at some point, like if enough people are asking, I feel like we don't need them constantly, right? I don't need an
Yeah.
update every week, but every few months, give
Our
us
last numbers was from February,
yeah.
which is way too long. Especially given now behavior has gone to citing kill and pick rates as reasons for balance changes. You
Hmm.
can't start doing that and then never give us the stats.
Yeah.
You can't. That's like having your cake and eating it. It's like, oh yeah, trust us to like not balance around stats, but also not going to show you the stats to show that that's not what we're doing.
Yeah, and, because like we can all like yell about like we can all give our anecdotal stats, right?
Yeah,
We
we
all
can.
can, but there's so many factors that it, as much as I hate bringing it up, MMR can affect it. The
Yeah,
people you're playing against affect it. The perks you're bringing affect it. Your
yeah,
personal play style affects it.
yeah. Because
Even
like I've noticed, I play late at night on EU servers, so I am
mhm,
like a lot of the time I'm in the trenches,
mhm,
probably more than your average player of Merchant or Houndmaster would be,
right.
because I'm a very enfranchised player, so my MMR is probably pretty high. And again, the soft cap MMR is not high to begin with.
Hmm.
And I'm playing late at night on what are widely considered some of the sweatiest servers, some of the highest average player quality. So I am playing these killers effectively on hard mode compared to someone, say, playing on NA East in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
Like that is assuming you take stock in like regional differences in like player quality, which I do to some level,
hmm,
especially at higher MMR, if that makes sense. Like
because
there's a reason that in like the win streaking and comp communities, there's a common joke that win streaks don't count on NA.
because I mean yeah, well I mean even with that it's like again I'll bring him up. I promise this will be the last time I bring him up in a case like this, but
Of course.
Chucky's kill rate right now is again the second lowest. He's only beating Legion.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like me and a couple other Chucky mains have been giving our anecdotals on it, and it's like we're doing fine.
Yes.
I'm
That's
still
exactly it.
I'm still 4King like
What's
every
the thing?
match.
Because you are good at Chucky. That's the difference.
And
You are good at Chucky.
but the question is like that's going to affect my opinion of the changes, even though I still think they
Absolutely, it
should
is.
be reverted. But it's a weird thing with it because even with the Skull Merchant changes, I think this happened with you and a couple of the other dedicated players, especially the ones who were actually using the rotation mechanic,
Yeah.
which I can't. I'm a hypocrite because I don't even use it that much, but still, I admit it.
Yeah.
But a lot of them were struggling, especially at first. But like a lot of y'all bounced back. Y'all were doing just fine on her.
Well, at the end of the day, like Merchant's always been a killer who's preyed on people not knowing how she works, and that's still the case now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That explains Sadako.
yeah, like she's really is a killer who's benefited a lot from people not knowing quite how she works. And because she didn't become less common, that means
Mm-hmm.
these things become more prevalent.
It's the it's the Aatrox effect.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
Although even a lot of enfranchised merchant players, the ones I speak to, the people like Vindruva, people like Lychee, even they've been having problems. I've been having problems because she is a lot weaker.
Oh
Like she
yeah,
got
for sure.
devastated. So
Yeah.
it's like on some level it is affecting us. Not as much probably as the average merchant player, but it's definitely bad.
It's funny because I think I mentioned this when we did talk about Skull Merchant last time.
Yeah.
Her her like timeline is so similar to Aatrox. It's not even funny.
Yeah, and that frightens me because I know what happened next.
Like it's Aatrox was terrible on release, and then they buffed him, and then they had to nerf him because he got too strong and people weren't doing well, and then he went into like irrelevancy, and then and then people kept losing against him, and his win rate went up because people didn't know how to play against him, and then he got buffed again, and then he became really good, and then they reworked him.
Yeah. Please don't Boris my killer. Thank you very much. It's a shame because I actually quite like reworked Aatrox. But that's not the point.
It's not Aatrox though. I think that's the
No, it's not
point.
Aatrox. No.
I mean, I can sit here and yell "Ship of Theseus" all I want about that situation, but it's still not Aatrox.
It's not Aatrox now. And it's really damn sad. I'm worried about Merchant, I really am. But I'm at least hoping that my ranting about her for the past year and for the next year will come to something. Because, like, I did a video with Spooky Loops recently where he talked to me about Merchant, and I think I won him over on a lot of things about her. I've got one coming out with Scott Jund in the near future as well, where we actually agree on stuff.
Oh god! Oh really?
Yeah, everyone throw salt over your shoulders and pray to whatever gods you hold dear. You know it's bad when Scott Jund and I are agreeing about Skull Merchant.
I think it was. Do you know D20 on Twitter?
I do, yes.
Yeah. I think me and D20 actually agreed on something the other day, and I literally like took a step back for like 5 minutes. I was like, oh my god, we actually agreed on something. What do I do?
This isn't supposed to happen. That's not the way this is supposed to go.
But
yeah,
moving on from the Skull Merchant.
Back onto Houndmaster.
Yeah, we were talking about.
I knew it would come to her at some point.
Yeah, her last perk, which is probably the best of the bunch, and honestly one of the best perks I think they've released in almost a year.
I love Jagged Compass.
Jagged Compass is so good. It is,
and it's healthy good. It's not like busted. It's healthy good. It's exactly the way a perk should be. It's awesome.
It does everything a perk should. It works synergistically with other perks. It works okay on its own. It does an effect that is unique, and the effect it does is actually decent.
Yes, and importantly, the perk the best Scourge hook in the game. It has no synergy with almost at all.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great.
So it enables all the other Scourge hook perks, and that is beautiful.
You think we're gonna get a boon version of this?
Oh, please, dear God, no.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, Dios mío. No, I can't sing Jagged Compass's praises enough. It's become part of my favorite build on Houndmaster and a bunch of other killers, because just going Pain Res, Gift of Pain, Jagged Compass, it's just poetry. It rhymes. It's so much fun. But like, obviously, if you're a killer who likes floods, you'll love Jagged Compass. If you're a killer who likes Gift of Pain, you'll love Jagged Compass. If you're a killer who has like left the grey matter on the kitchen countertop and you like Hangman's Trick, then you'll love Jagged Compass. If you like Pain Res, you'll appreciate it, I guess. You'll double dip on value. But I like the design space this opens up for future Scourge hooks as well. So it's hopefully a very future-proof perk. I'm really excited to see what they do with more Scourges in the future.
Yeah,
although I did hear that apparently the interactions with Gift and Pain and Floods are bugs, which would be stupid if they decide to fix them, because that's the only use case the perk has. That's like a serious use case.
That better not be a bug. That better be intentional. What?
Yeah, or at least they keep it if it is a bug.
Like,
it gives the perk its utility almost entirely.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Like I mentioned a minute ago, like it's okay on its own. Like its quote main effect is fine. Like it's okay, but like
the info isn't bad, and making extra Scourge Pain Res is alright.
Yeah, but that is not why people run it.
Yeah, you run it for Floods and Gift.
Exactly.
Which is awesome, because those perks kind of need their time in the sun.
Yeah.
Especially Floods.
Horser is screaming right now.
Yeah. Horser a Floods hater.
No, Horser is a Floods enjoyer.
Nice.
Yeah, Horser never takes it off his Nemesis build.
Excellent. I run an artist.
But and again, and it doesn't even just synergize with other Scourges, even though it does. But
yeah,
it synergizes with Pop Goes the Weasel too.
It does, yes, because it does with Pop.
Yeah, which is really nice, and it also, I mentioned this earlier, it synergizes with Houndmaster.
It does, and Deadman Switch.
Yeah.
Because now DMS only affects one generator. You need to know which one it is.
Yeah, and to a degree, well, no, I was going to say thrilling, but not really.
Yeah.
Does the Gen still glow yellow if it gets blocked? Do you know?
I don't think. I don't know. I don't know actually. I need to find that out. I need to test that.
Yeah, it's also interesting because apparently there is a quote bug with it that I do know of. It's not a bug. I think it's more just an oversight. If two gens are exactly the same, it will light both of them yellow.
It's really funny.
That is not something that you're going to commonly see, but it can happen.
No, on that occasion.
It's similar to I think Deadlock has the same issue.
Yes.
And well, actually, technically, Deadlock has the opposite issue. If two gens are the same, it actually won't affect either, which is really funny.
The pain of indecision.
But no,
Deadlock is that one horse between two identical bales of hay that just starves to death because it can't decide what to pick.
but like gift of like again, Jagged Compass is. I will die on the hill. It is the best perk they've made in almost a year.
I agree. It's such a banger, at least for killer.
And like I think the next closest we've really had was maybe Unforeseen.
I'm going to get on my soapbox and say now that they've done what they always should have done, which is let you see the items on the floor. I'm going to say Weave Achievement. Like I know it's a popular opinion to be like a Weave Achievement enjoyer, but I really like Weave. And now that they've got it in a balanced state because it was overtuned when you couldn't see the item on the floor. But I think now I really like Weave.
I still think the effect should have gone to Franklin's and not Weave personally.
Fair enough. I like that it makes the Wanklins combo, like obviously Weave Franklins, weaker because Weave obviously Franklin benefits Weave, but also Weave adds a drawback to Franklins, and like shows you the Franklin's counterplay, and I quite like that. If it's very elegant pair.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, because what else did we really get this year? Because Unknown's perks were fine. Like I said, Unforeseen was probably the one that
Agreed.
Chucky had two Friends to the End, I guess.
Friends to the End quite well received.
And son of a bitch, what was the other one? Two Can Play, which was
two can play in batteries, yeah.
Which had a lot of problems in batteries, which went through a weird balancing stint for like a month.
Went through the gamut, yeah.
We're gonna make it so it doesn't, and this is why I'm scared of All Shaking Thunder.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that.
Yeah, because of what happened to batteries included, I'm actually kind of scared for All Shaking Thunder.
Yeah, me too.
And then Vecna, I mean, I love Dark Arrogance. I know a lot of people don't like that perk, but I love Dark Arrogance.
I have mixed opinions on Dark Arrogance, but I really like Weave. I'm a big Weave apologist.
And then Dracula. Did Dracula really have any gameplay changing dominance? I guess maybe.
Yeah, I know. Dominance is just like B-Tech Thrill these days. Like,
I like it for the info.
You can't. I honestly thought it was bad Thrill to begin with. You can't outdo the doer. You know, you can't out Thrill. Thrill is Thrill.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mr. Incredible, Incredibles too. Thrill is Thrill.
Well, it's funny because do you remember old Thrill, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Dominance is basically like a healthier version of old Thrill.
Yeah, but it's not as funny as New Thrill.
Which, and for those who don't know what old Thrill did, because you're new to the game, old Thrill used to give you a notification when someone touched the totem.
Yeah, but they got rid of that when Artist arrived because Artist could infinitely protect the totem. She just sends a notification, sends a crow at it, and that you would get injured and knocked off the totem before you could complete the interaction. Because Thrill also still gave you a totem speed decrease, but obviously a much lesser one.
That would be ridiculous on current Houndmaster too.
It really would. Pinhead 2.
Oh my god.
But yeah. That doesn't exist anymore. But Dominance is healthier version of old Thrill, but also like new Thrill just does that. Like the information obviously not so much, but you've got Undying or other good options for info perks that like I feel like if you want Dominance, you probably want either Undying or Thrill. Undying giving you the info, Thrill giving you just time wasted on totems. It's kind of competing for best in slot with those, and that's stiff competition. So
yeah, I mean I do run it occasionally, but it at the end of the day, it's really not that good. Even with the buff it just got to kind of make it a little nuts. But
I think with Dracula's perks, the star of his is Human Greed.
Human Greed, that's the star.
Yeah, I think Human Greed's the star because event offerings increase the number of chests.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So every event now, and they've made that every event like offering does that now. So the Screech Cobblers did. I think the Halloween event offering did, and the
Hmm.
Bone Chill event offerings did. So every event, human greed stonks skyrocket
I am
because
genuinely
chests go
curious.
from 3 in a match to 7 to 8 a match, and suddenly human greed becomes insane.
I am genuinely curious because they have definitely I'm sure I'm not the first person to notice this. They have been wanting to make chests a thing like all year.
Yes,
Um,
and I think they've succeeded.
really.
I think they've. I think specialist is a really fun perk. I love specialist,
Hmm.
and I think the plunderer's buff was welcome.
Hmm.
I think the base kit chest opening speed was welcome,
Pharmacy.
and yeah, pharmacies are obviously sweet. And I think what was it? Um, Obviously
Hardened,
human greed. I like human greed a lot.
hardened, and what's the other one? Moment of Glory from Trevor.
Hardened is solid at what you want it to do. I think Moment of Glory is a bit underwhelming because it's just like a weird syringe sort of.
Hmm.
Especially because clean break exists to kind of do that job as well. But I think in general they've done a good job with these chest perks. I think they're underused.
Yeah.
Like play everyone on the event right now. Pick dredge, put human greed on, put on metal toes, and you're gonna have a whale of a time.
It's yeah. Again, like I'm curious if they're going to keep buffing chests this year because I kind of hope they do. I,
Yeah, I think it's cool.
it's an interesting side objective, and I think it, ironically, because I said this when Weave Attunement was becoming, quote, an issue,
Yes,
was if people just didn't bring items in and
it's
relied
got
on,
off chance.
yeah, just go for chests. Um, it would have been more interesting, and I actually kind of think, especially with dramaturgy, becoming more meta now. Thank you for that, by the way, Hens. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep blaming Hens. I don't care.
Hashtag blame hands. Get it trending.
If I see one more finesse chem trap in my game, uh,
You wouldn't get it. Finesse, dramaturgy, life. Finesse. So what is it? It's better than like finesse life.
yeah.
Finesse life. Windows beep boop.
But I think with dramaturgy getting used more, I think a lot of people are not bringing items because, for those who don't know, dramaturgy has the chance to make you drop your item and
Replace
put
it.
and
Yeah.
replace it, which is annoying.
Hmm.
I wish it didn't do that, but whatever.
Yeah.
But again, I think people are starting to like not bring as many items, at least from what I've seen.
Or if they are bringing like firecrackers and stuff that goes away, or like
Hmm.
syringes,
Yeah,
because then they can use them and then lose them.
yeah. So then I think chests become more valuable in that case.
Yeah.
One buff I do want to see the chests. I know this is extremely off topic at this point, but welcome to the podcast.
Yes.
But
Yes, of course.
one buff I really do want to see the chests massively is I kind of wish one chest was guaranteed a hatch key.
That would make that the basement chest, and you've got a deal.
You wouldn't want it to be random.
Nah, I think I like the idea of the basement chest being a basement being a more dangerous place to be. I've
Hmm.
always liked that, like that notion. I think that people say you should remove the basement. I think go the opposite way, make it way more interesting. I think a guaranteed you could even make it harder to open,
Hmm.
like if you wanted to do something like that. But like a special basement chest with a hatch key inside it. Oh,
Yeah,
that would be crazy, and
like
it would make the end game more interesting too.
yeah, of course,
Because
yeah.
we all know endgame gets really boring when you like two gates, biopod or Victor or dog or drone or insert map pressure object here or just running between the gates with blight like a moron.
Or
Like
stand on top of a hill in Coldwind and see both of them.
exactly. Like that would add so much depth to the end game if you had like a hard to open chest in the basement with a key in it. That would be really fun, I think.
Yeah, and again, I think it would also like not necessarily encourage the use of other chests. Well, that's part of the reason why I wanted to make it a random chest. That way, like it kind of inherently
Fair
gives the
enough.
chests more of a value. But I
Yeah,
don't hate the idea of making the basement one guaranteed.
I could see that. Or like make it be a fixed spot on every map. So like
Mm,
imagine the Temple of Purgation near the bonus chest at the altar.
hmm.
Make that the key chest on that map.
Yeah, then once the hatch
Or
shuts, it would open too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, or like a main, or like imagine the one on Midwich was the one in the like the secret chest
There
on
was
Midwich,
a
or the mother room on the Nostromo.
there was a match. This was years ago when I first started playing the game, but I will never forget this because the interaction was just so cool. I was playing
Yeah.
Bubba, and I was three-genning them on Bad Ham. Is what happened. There was
Yes, as you should.
there was two people left alive. This was after the hatch changes, by the way.
Yes.
Two people, or I'm sorry, this is before the hatch changes.
Okay.
So the hatch was up, and I was just patrolling my three gen. They couldn't do anything. The gens were like literally like touching each other basically. And I'm Bubba, so they can't even like take a hit because I
Yeah, they
will
can't just
down them.
tap a gen.
Yeah, I'll just down them immediately. And I didn't see them for like 10 minutes, and it turns out they were going around every chest and they got a hatch key
Yep.
and they
That
just
happened to me.
left.
That happened to me. I had a three gen on Gideon with Plague. Same thing happened, and I was hard molding about that because I'd fought tooth and nail as Gideon, bastard of a map. This was before all Plague's buffs, and they just two outed me, and I'm like, well, that sucks.
Well, I think with the current version of Hatch, I think that making a guaranteed key would be great.
I agree. And I think, like, especially, oh yeah, one thing noted by the way, human grade, it works through walls, obviously. So the bonus chests on Nostromo and Midwich give you constant aura reading without being
Oh,
able to be opened to turn it off.
I didn't even think about that.
So that does work the way you think it does.
Oh,
It's so goofy.
I have my all-seeing build, which is human greed undying on its own. By the way, I swear people sleep on undying on its own. I run it for a match. You'd be surprised how much value you get.
Counterpoint, undying retribution. Do you cleanse the totem? You see the aura. You cleanse the totem, you see the auras.
Speaking of undying and totems with Houndmaster, can you correct me on this? Does it say anywhere in her power that she can send snug to totems?
It doesn't say that, but that is how it works. And like knowing that is key to one of the builds you can run on her that's particularly unpleasant.
Yeah. 'Cause-
With an add-on that I like to call Fatty Meat, and I call it that because that's its name.
we didn't even mention fatty meat.
Yeah, we didn't know, because it makes people who are hound sent scream every 15 seconds, which is coincidentally a little bit less than time taken to break a totem, but quite a bit more frequently than it takes to break a totem through the thrill of the hunt. So you hound send somebody, and you send Snug, be loading around all the totems on the map because he can go to any lit totem that you can, like anything you have an aura reading of, basically he can go to. So you see an aura of a totem, you send Snug over. They doing it, they're hound sense, they get screamed, that resets the progress. Do that as often as you want.
Do
You
you
run Trainer's Book to make hound sense last longer, so this happens more, or Marlin Spike to spread it more easily, and you have yourself a build.
do you think screaming should stop totems?
Yes, because it's funny. Um,
Good answer. Good answer.
like, I'm when it comes to my totems, I'm a bit of a sadistic bastard, as I always have been. So I am exceedingly biased when I say don't change it. But also, I think it gives an option to killers who don't have direct map pressure to be able to pressure totems, and I quite like that. Like,
I kind of wish there was a
I think to be careful with
limit.
it. I need to be careful with it, I think. But I think it allows for more interesting builds as a result of it. Like, Face the Darkness would lose most of its value if that was the case.
I
Same with a lot of the add-ons that make you scream, even Infectious. They'd lose. It which wouldn't be useful
yeah.
anymore. It's a damn shame.
I think the one stipulation I will say I do kind of wish it had a limit.
I wouldn't mind that.
So like if you like you're do like maybe if you scream like I don't know like 10 times, the next one won't interrupt you or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Um,
Um,
I don't know how you would code that, but
yeah, I'm not too sure.
but
Actually, when make it feel intuitive.
yeah. I mean that's always a problem with a lot of things. You got to
I think I should be careful with screaming frequency. I think that's where things get a bit frightening. Is how often you're going to scream. And like 15 seconds was chosen very intentionally for Houndmaster because that's slightly longer than the time it takes to break a totem. So without thrill, you can just go through it and not give a fuck.
What was their reasoning for not again? Wasn't it something about that it interacts with perks in a way they don't like?
Yeah. Um, and then the fatty meat exists. But yeah, I'm going to keep using fatty meat until they change it. I love the fucking hell. Obviously, I love the build it enables because I'm. You give me Thrill, the build of Thrill, Pentimento, Fuck, and you, and I'm off to the races.
Moving on a bit because I think
Yes,
we've lost the plot on Jagged
perhaps a smidge. Yes, perhaps a little bit.
Compass. Builds. This actually moves right
Build.
into builds.
Yes.
Yes. Now I remember. I think it was day 4 of her release. I DM'd you, and my exact words were something along the lines of, "I'm struggling on Houndmaster. Do you recommend a build?" And I think your response, you didn't even respond with a build. You just said Starstruck, and that
Yes.
was it.
Yeah.
Care to elaborate? I know you have in your guide, but I know
Yes,
you love talking about this.
I do. I'm a yapper. That's why I'm here. But yeah, I think Houndmaster is the best user of exposed pound for pound in the game. I think she's better than Slinger, especially now for the Vault buffs. Well, even after they get reverted, I think she's still better at it than Slinger. So any exposed perk, if it's good on any killer, it will be good on her. So you devour haunted ground. Make your choice. It's all nasty, but nothing is beating Starstruck. Nothing. Because the two big issues people have with Starstruck is you need to catch up to them in the 30 seconds it takes to get to the window you have to down them, and you need to be able to damage with M1 so you can take advantage of the exposed. Houndmaster might be the only killer in the game, except maybe Spirit, who can do both. She has catch up, and she has the ability to M1 you quickly because she does damage with M1s. So with Starstruck, she's absolutely terrifying. Like, you couldn't quite consistently get a down on somebody once you picked somebody else up with Starstruck within the time, because as long as there's enough people that someone in range in the first place, So, because if they're a little bit far away, you can search mode to get closer to them and then M1. Or if they're a bit closer, you can hit them with a chase and pull them back to you for the insta down. The perk is wild on her. It's so good. And the add-on ship figurehead, the purple add-on that I'm using in the footage on screen right now, makes her terror radius 8 meters larger when Snug is running with you, which means when you're carrying someone. So it's basically agitation and an add-on slot, which is pretty sweet. And it gives you a small TR when Snug is away from you too, which is nice. But it makes Starstruck Houndmaster which is great without it. But with Ship Figurehead, Starstruck Houndmaster is a menace. You can have anything. You can run agitation with it if you want to. You could run it with some general perks like I do. But just try it. It's a drug. The other perk I think people would recommend a lot on her is Save the Best for Last.
Of course, I love that
Because it's so dependable. You can't really go wrong with Spiffle on this killer, because again, she M1 to almost all of her health states, so she'll be able to stack you up really quickly, and being able to stab, recover, and immediately send the dog out, just eat the distance completely, kind of like, again, Slinger. Except she doesn't have all the downsides of Slinger, where, like, you have to worry about
reload and missing.
Yeah, reloading and being 110.
And losing 4 stacks from hitting the obsession.
Yeah, like, Porsche doesn't have any of those concerns, and it's awesome. I know Al Ranakan, who I know has really gotten into Houndmaster lately. I know he's a big Stibiffle advocate. I am a Starstruck advocate, and some people I know like a bit of both. So, one of those two perks, you're cooking with gas.
What about Rapid?
Rapid solid.
She doesn't really, you don't really get
I don't find
loss.
much use of the haste, because a lot of the time you'll be aiming the dog out, and you're not benefiting from the haste when you're holding out the good boy.
Okay.
But it's certainly not a bad perk.
Okay. I was just thinking, because Rapid is very good on killers that traditionally just don't get bloodlust very often, and I know she really does.
Pinhead, great.
Yeah. It's also really good on current Chucky if this is out before he gets changed again.
Yeah, well, it's more that her distance denial is already so good that Rapid's value, I think, is less than it is on some of those other killers like Pinhead. Because the distance denial is already so good. Like she doesn't need more help with that.
Fair enough.
In general, I find my philosophy is if you can only hit them once, it means they're just dead if you get a good if you can get a good angle on them, whether that's they're exposed or whether they're actually keeping them injured. So you see the build I'm running in all my footage I sent for Bennett here is Gift of Pain, Pain Res, Jagged Compass, Starstruck, and that's just a kind of I've been running that pretty much day in day out. Gift of Pain's great because it encourages them not to heal, which means that Snug can just tear them a new one in one hit, which is great because that's the biggest time sink you'll find is if they can break LOS and then get around a corner before you can get the dog back and start aiming again. That will waste a lot of your time. So anything that can make a chase last one hit rather than two is exactly what you want. I think Forced Penance would be great too because people often travel in pairs, so they can shoot the dog. So Forced Penance can punish them for that. She's really good at forcing unhooked trades. So another reason for Stiffle being so good, and force hesitation. There's obviously the Totem build, which is really, really fair and balanced and certainly not at all annoying. No, this killer has a lot. She's got a super wide potential builds because she uses exposed and M1 perks so well without the downsides M1 kills traditionally have, i.e. gap closing.
She's very similar to Spirit in the sense where she's kind of like a hybrid M1 M2 killer.
Yes,
So
like
she's
an M1 killer without the traditional weaknesses of an M1 killer.
Yeah, she can run basically anything and make it work.
She really can. She's super open-ended with her builds. I on the PTB I ran a lot of Floods of Rage and Make Your Choice, because it makes healing under hook really awkward, or like healing near hook or sticking together after you unhook to heal. Because if you hit the person who's exposed, then the person you've just hooked has to come back and shoot the dog, or their friend gets instant out. So it's like, hey, do you want to give me a free tunnel out, or do you want to give me a free instant out, and then reset your healing progress if I brought the mangle out on, or if I brought Gift of Pain or something. Like they literally have to make that choice, and it's not a good one.
Dumb question.
It's so good at making it squirm. Plus, aura reading is just good on this killer in general because she has so much. You can aim really, really precisely off of the first dash with it.
Dumb question. Do you know how Snug interacts with endurance? Because it seems very confusing sometimes.
Yeah, well, he'll hang on for a couple of seconds only, and then release himself again.
Okay, I was just curious because I've noticed like sometimes he'll stay on them longer when they have endurance, and sometimes he'll just like go off of them.
Occasionally, it's buggy and does last longer than it should, but the intended interaction is only a 2-second latch.
Okay.
That's the intended interaction. If you hit somebody just as they're coming off of hook, then it will last the full 8 seconds, which is really funny. Kind of like, you know how Wesker can like throw people out of base kit BT. Hound Master can do that too. So she can like pull you out of your base kit BT, which is kind of nuts.
Also,
makes her a really obnoxious camper.
Also, fucking Houndmaster is also similar to Slinger. She does not care about Dead Hard, which is incredible.
Well, kind of. Like they can dead hard the dog hit. Meaning, because if they are in mid dead hard when Snug is biting them, then it will only last a couple of seconds, but it still cuts their momentum and obviously uses the perk without giving them distance. So it's not actually it doesn't obliterate it as hard as Slinger does, but it's still pretty hard. Dissolution's also great on her because people often drop a pallet around the dog, and if you hit them around the pallet, they can't vault that pallet without breaking it.
I didn't even think about Dissolution.
Yeah. Dissolution's nuts on her. What is it with me playing killers who work well with Dissolution, eh?
Except Chucky. Except Chucky.
But yeah, Dissolution's great on her. Any M1 authority perk, any mid chase or reading because Zanshin Tactics is good. They drop the pallet to try and like force the dog to an awkward angle, and you can see exactly where they're going to go. Zanshin's wonderful. Even long distance or reading because she has search. It all just it all sings.
It just works. It just works.
Have fun with it because she's still so new. I'm sure there's lots of stuff I haven't found yet. So I look forward to seeing what other people are able to pull off because I'm pretty sure there could be some wild stuff.
She probably works really well with Friends of the End too.
Yeah, I should imagine so. I've played it a little bit. I stopped using it not because it wasn't effective, but because I was missing Starstruck.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
That's the problem is when I have a build I like, I tend to stick with it. I'm not big on experimenting on builds beyond initially finding out what I want to run.
Hmm.
So I'm not a great person to ask build advice a lot of the time because I'll come up with one build and I'm like, yeah, I'm running this now every game for the next 3 years. That was me with my like Thrill Pentimento build. Like I've always just added bits on as opposed to like trying to reinvent a build.
I was talking to Tat, Tat. I think it was actually yesterday because we know Deep Wound is getting changed. At least they said
Yes,
it is, and we still don't know what they're doing.
not a clue.
But I have a feeling because maybe I'm tinfoil hatting this. The fact that Houndmaster has Deep Wound in her kit seems very random.
It
Not
does, yes.
not to say it's useless because it is useful. I'm not saying it's not.
Yes, it is.
But it does seem extremely random, and I think it's also a sign that Deep Wound might be getting changed to somehow work in Chase.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Deep Wound because it'll affect quite a few killers, obviously. Slinger, Hound Master, Legion, Merchant. Being the big four that stand out to me. Like these killers are going to be, they have basic deep wounds.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. And it'll affect all the deep wound related and tunneling perks and everything.
Yeah,
So I'm interested to see how this will end up.
I honestly I don't know what they could do to it. I think Deep Wound's fine.
I think you know, stay other than the visual effect on the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
You could get rid of that completely if you wanted to.
I mean, if that's why they put it on the list, I wouldn't be surprised. But I hope that's not the only thing they're doing. If that's it.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. Also, the fact that it's coming in this update as a Friday rework. Interesting.
Yeah, that is also very interesting. And all of his perks are getting none of his perks do Deep Wound, so that's also weird.
No, Blood Warden isn't being changed, but the other two are.
Oh yeah, Bloodborne was on the list. Yeah, you're right. You're right. My bad. It's basically just Nightmare on Elm Street 2 at this point.
Yeah, I firmly think I think it's going to be effectively a soft re-release of the chapter, which is exactly what Freddy needs, in my opinion.
I hope they change they update the map too at the same time. I know it might be asking for much, but
Wouldn't that be nice?
do we need 5 Bat Hams? Do we?
We got Haddonfield murdered. Maybe Padham will get the same treatment.
Moving on a bit, we did talk about
Yes.
her strength. We did talk about it a little bit earlier. Her strength has fluctuated again wildly in the past since her release, and
Yeah,
in less than a
2.5
week
weeks ago. Yeah.
from a hot fix, by the way.
Yep, love that. Really like behavior shipping out big sweeping changes in fucking hotfixes.
You have no idea.
Yeah, it sucks.
But she went from like whether or not she was already strong, like I think is irrelevant to the conversation.
Yes.
The fact
How good
is
she is now.
the fact is she went from being perceived as one of the worst killers in the game, whether or not that's true or not, whatever,
Yeah.
to arguably some people calling her top 5.
Yeah, I think I'd put her maybe at maybe 6 or 7 right now. She's high. She's really high. But that's literally just because of the vault speed buff. That's the thing that breaks her. Like it's one number that's ratcheted up way too high, and the bug associated with it.
Yeah, and I hope behavior knows that. I hope they know that's what everyone's complaining about.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Like, I think they'll get it right in the end. It might take them a while, but they'll get it right in the end.
Well, and hopefully because based on the last few killers, like they've been very maybe I'm a little delusional on this, but Vecna, Dracula, Chucky, and who am I missing? Is that it?
Unknown.
Unknown. Yeah, Unknown I think is different because Unknown I think is fine. Other than the one update they did, but like Unknown really doesn't need to be touched. But Dracula, Chucky, and Vecna, they've been keeping up with them as far as like making sure they're fine. I feel
They've been giving a lot. Like especially, I've noticed Chucky gets a lot.
all but 3 patches over the past year. By the way,
Yeah.
yeah, I hate it as much as everybody else does. Don't worry.
Chucky gets changed about as often as Sable gets about as often as Michaela gets skins.
Yeah. Fun fact: I started working on the Chucky guide 6 months ago. I
How
gave
many
up.
times has he been changed since then?
I gave up.
Yeah.
It's until he's good for more than 3 months. I'm giving up until.
I respect that honestly. I know a friend of mine does something similar with the night guide.
Yeah.
Just waiting for him to settle. Even I was doing that because I'm going to make a sequel to the Merchant Guide. About how to play her in her new D tier state. But I'm waiting to see if they are planning on changing her again. Doesn't look like they are. So I'm
It's
going
because
to full send.
it's a live service game. Things are going to change. Guides are never going to be perfectly relevant forever.
Yeah.
But I would like my guide to be relevant for at least half a year, maybe. I don't think that's asking too much.
That's how long my merchant guide lasted, 7 months. Before they put her through the mincing machine.
Did you change the thumbnail with like a giant outdated on it? Because that's what I do.
No, because it isn't outdated really. A lot of it is still valid.
Okay, fair enough.
Because again, everything technical is still as valid as it ever was. It's just that there's different advice to give because she's just worse in every single way.
But I think with Houndmaster, I have hopes that they're going to keep on her because again, the past year to me has shown that especially the newer killers are getting. I don't want to say preferential treatment, but they are definitely
they're being heavily updated.
Yes.
Like a criticism I made a couple of years ago actually was that behavior wasn't doing enough to ensure these new killers landed properly, because that was the era where we got Merchant, Singularity,
Night.
even Xenomorph. Like these were killers that didn't get, even going as far back as like Artist.
Artist
Like,
still has. She hasn't had a
Artist
patch.
had nothing.
Yeah, she still hasn't.
Yeah, like for a while they had a real spree of not addressing their killers after they came out. They've really gotten past that since then, and that's good.
Yeah, and this is no hate to Karn. I love Karn. The fact that Artist has one of the lowest pick rates in the game and still has not been touched in a single patch is baffling to me.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. And Behavior has not announced anything resembling a plan to change that either.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they need to. I'm just saying it's so odd that they haven't.
Yeah, I thought she'd be getting Singularity treatment and being Giga buff by now.
Well, I thought she was going to be. It ended up being Chucky. When they announced the killers on the update for the roadmap, and it was like +4 more.
Yeah, Artist would have been one that would make sense.
Yeah, Artist was I guessed every single one right except for Chucky. I thought for sure it was going to be Artist. She just made the most sense. Low pick rate, not the best kill rate. She hasn't been touched in
Ever.
almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, it's just baffling to me. But what was I even talking about before with Houndmaster? Oh, strength. Yeah, strength.
Yes,
yeah. Like again, I think it's just hard to call right now. Again, I don't think she's top 5 like some people are saying.
I think she's really very, very good. But that is carried solely by the number on the vault speed, and that's not lasting beyond like the next month and a half. I think once they bring that into line and bring the cooldown into line, I think she's going to be marginally better than Deathslinger, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
I think that's where she should be.
Yeah, I think it's where most killers should be.
I think she's going to end up. Right now, I say she's high A. She'll settle into mid A, I think, and then once they revert the vault buff to some degree, and then she'll be fine. Like. That's where I would put my money. She's just overtuned. She's just a bit overtuned, and you feel that really hard in a lot of tile interactions.
Well,
but
I mean,
it's teething problems. The new killers have that all the time.
Yeah, and you said this in your Skull Merchant video years ago when she got her first rework. She's buffable. She's nerfable.
Yes.
Like.
Yeah.
A lot of the problems she has right now are number problems. They're not inherent to the design of the killer.
Yes, she's very, very balanceable. And I have confidence Behavior's going to be on the ball with it.
I will say I have been seeing a lot of Houndmaster hate as of late.
I've not been seeing very much of it, but also I've not really been engaging with TV with it that much.
Yeah, good. Good. It's a hellscape right now. Everyone's complaining about everything.
I didn't realize there's much Houndmaster hate going on.
Yeah, a lot of people are hating on it right now.
Well then, well, I don't have to play against her anymore for a couple of weeks if they don't want to. So maybe that's why I'm not seeing the hate, because anyone who hates her that much just choosing not to play against her.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the event right now. People are complaining about that.
Yeah, I see a lot more event complaints than I do Houndmaster complaints. A lot more.
Yeah. Hear me on the event, by the way, because I don't know if I put this on Twitter, Blue Sky, or wherever.
Yeah.
Remove gens and just make it a snowball fight.
I could see it being like a do it on Christmas Day.
Yeah, just remove the gens, make it a snowball fight, make it an actual different mode.
That would be really fun. Like May Snowball Offensive in Overwatch.
Oh
That'd
yeah,
be
that,
a really
that
good time.
that'd be hilarious.
Or I've just had a thought of Unknown as a giant snowball cannon.
Great. Like the one from like the SpongeBob episode. It just pops around a corner.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking hilarious.
Hi guys! I put a rock in this one.
Uh,
Won't eat the yellow snow.
I was joking last night about talking about which killers would be the ones to put rocks in the snowballs, and like Chucky would be the first one to do it.
He'd absolutely do it. He put razor blades in it. You know, like the apple when he goes trick or treating in the show.
I mean, this is completely off topic talking about the events, but I do kind of want to get this out there. The problem with Dead by Daylight events is that there's no reason to play the events. That's the problem with them. Or let me rephrase that. There's no reason to play the event in the event, like interact with it.
I think Halloween did a really good job of making that a thing for Survivor because of the smoke bombs. Like they were genuinely really innovative, kind of thing we'd never seen before. So the smoke bombs were great because the only way you could get them was by interacting with the event. That was great, but that was the exception rather than the rule, and it definitely has never worked for Killer.
Even then, though, like a lot of survivors didn't even care.
I think that's I don't think that's a particularly big issue. Like at the end of the day, sometimes people just want to do gens, you know. But
I mean,
no, I think more distinct events I could definitely see working better. But I also think people would get bored of them quicker.
I think that was the one thing I like about the anniversary events. As much as people can complain about it, like it's really the only event where people actually play the event, kind of, because you're kind of forced to.
I think this year's Halloween for Survivor was exactly how you did it. Killer, absolutely not. But they introduced the notion of like a limited item that you can only get like try out and have fun with in the event of like doing the event stuff. I think that's cool. I hope we do see more of that for both sides actually.
Speaking.
I think Halloween. I think Halloween was how you did it.
Speaking of the event, I did want to mention if they do bring remote hooks back this year, you need to try my remote hook Starstruck build on Houndmaster.
I will. I definitely will.
Have you seen it?
I have not. No.
It's Awaken Awareness, Starstruck, Agitation, and I forget what the last perk is. It really doesn't matter. But down somebody, you just walk up to them with Awakened Awareness and Agitation and Starstruck. Down somebody else and then remote hook.
That's brilliant.
And then just keep repeating the process because the cooldown's the same. It's great.
Sounds like a good time.
Man, I miss remote hooks.
We'll see.
Moving on a bit.
Indeed.
Tips for and again, this is going to be a little redundant because you have an entire guide, which will be posted below, by the way. Tips for playing as Houndmaster. Do you have anything particular you want to add that you haven't said?
I've got one very big thing I want to reiterate. It's in the guide, but I think it needs reiterating. Patience. Like a lot of killers, dash killers especially, they want you to be like instant flicking, like fast reaction speed, to minimize opportunities. Houndmaster doesn't need that. Well, she can need it in certain situations, but a lot of the time that's not how that works. What you want, in a lot of cases, is remember when you redirect, you get killer instinct on the survivor that's near you. You know where they are, but they don't necessarily know where you are. And you know what your sliding is going to do. You know how you're going to slide off the environment. They can't see that. You see the paw prints, they don't see them. That's information that you have that they don't. Use it. Like, a lot of my hits I'll get are not straight line, like zoning dog shots. They are sliding off of the environment. Because that's how you can get people who don't expect it. And so, always like unless you're so close to the survivor, then instant flick is a guaranteed hit. I like being patient with most of my shots because then you'll know how the collision works in the environment. You'll know where Snug will reach and where he'll go if you slide him off this or that thing at this or that angle. And then it means if you miss it because you took too long lining it up, then cool. Next time you'll just do it faster and it'll work. But if you go too quickly and you miss because your accuracy is wrong, you don't know your collisions, you haven't learned anything. All you've done is you've tried a hit and it didn't work out, but you may not have even realized why it didn't work out because you were too busy just trying to swing your mouse around quickly. Like, your slug's range is really long and he's quite quick, so you don't really lose much from missing other than some distance, because your cooldown's pretty fast. So be patient. Like when you're redirecting, especially, like take a look around the environment. Think, what am I going to slide off? Where is it going to take me? And a lot of times survivors will just run into your path because they don't know where you're going to go until it's too late. Because you're sliding off the environment, they can't see where Snug is or where he's pointing. So it will throw them off significantly. So yeah, be patient and use the information that Killer Instinct gets you for your advantage, because it will do so much work for you, more than any amount of instant flicking ever will, and it's easier for console too.
I think a lot of I think what people are trying to do when they insta flick a lot. One, they are treating her more like a dash killer, but I think it's also they're trying to hit the survivor before they even have a chance to react.
Yeah,
But
well, like you can do that once you know your collisions, and I guarantee you don't know them yet.
well,
Like there's a lot of collisions that I don't know for this killer, and a lot of sliding that I don't know for this killer. I've been no life since the PTB.
I think the other
So
problem. I think the other problem with trying to do that is just and again, like I think she's just, especially on the redirect. There are so many tells that if you try to flick, they're almost guaranteed to dodge.
yes,
I feel is the other problem with it.
yeah,
Um,
like yeah, again, flicking is overrated on this killer at least. Like you have the luxury of being a bit more choosy, and because you see your own collision and you slug will slide off almost anything. It means that you can slip and slide around obstacles, but it will take time to learn to do that. So take that time.
mhm.
Like, it's not about winning, like getting a hit or getting a miss in a one individual chase and one individual match. It's about getting better whether you win or you lose.
Mhm.
So take that time and you will learn. If you try and rush and play it like a Wesker or a Blight and give them not like no time to react, you're not giving yourself time to act, to think about what you're doing. So be careful, take it slow, and it will become second nature to the point that you'll be able to start flicking and be able to be less reactable and do all these things faster, because you've got into the rhythm of knowing where everything's going to go, and like sending Snug out with a plan where you maybe wouldn't necessarily have a plan before.
I am the most patient player in this fuck. I will claim that totem or that title of one of the most patient players in this game, and even I mess it up. So
Yeah, like
it's a
like
hard habit. It's a hard habit to break.
yeah, that's the thing. Like you see, I'm a clip on Twitter and Blue Sky and whatnot, and
Hmm.
most of them are like the dog stops. I wait. I slowly pan the camera around so I see where all the party's going to go. I see what I'm like. Yeah, this is going to fuck them up, and then I hit them like around two corners and over a pallet or something, or I'll like slide halfway down a corridor at a 45-degree angle, but like bounce off a wall and smack him in the face.
Right.
And it's like you do that by being patient and like being very fucking careful with where you're going to send the dog. Like you even see in the background footage now, lots of moments where I'm holding the power up and just jiggling around on the spot, trying to like inch my way around a very tight corner.
Hmm.
But like rather than just instantly sending the dog out, because taking that time is the key to actually learning how to use the power. And that's what you've got to do. Don't focus on hitting, focus on learning.
Right. And then this is one I think a lot of people have been asking. I do want to say one, which is tips to play against her. I do want to say one thing. Move in pairs.
Yes, absolutely. Shoe the dog.
I rarely see it. It
Yes,
really
people don't do it enough.
it boggles my mind. It's like Legion, like state like with Legion. Okay, let me rephrase this because someone's gonna actually me. Do not stay all four of you in one place, but go in pairs of two.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just helps very much. But do you have any other generalistic tips to play against her?
Like if you're sure the dog is going to hit you, again, just path towards an undrop pallet as best you can. But if you're going to do that, don't try and stun the dog mid dash.
Mhm.
Wait for it to attach to you before you drop that pallet, because there's a good chance if you drop it, you'll drop it too late, and the dog will just slide under the pallet and grab your ass and just pull you away from the pallet backwards, rather than getting hit by the pallet directly. Like the dog is so fast, you'll often time it wrong.
Mhm.
Because the dog moves at 50 meters a second, which is bloody quick, and that means that ping hits get a bit nasty.
Did you just say
So
50 meters a second?
yeah, it's half the speed of 100 tangent.
Oh my god! I didn't even realize it was that fast.
Yeah, without add-ons, with add-ons obviously it's quicker. But yeah, you need to be careful. Like let the dog attach to you and then stun him. That is way more consistent than trying to stun the dog mid-dash. Obviously, it's not as flashy as stun the dog mid-dash, but if you want to play safe, especially if you want either you or the killer are on ping, wait until he attaches, then drop the pallet. That's the best advice I can give, really.
Okay. Understandable. Now here comes my favorite part, or the part
Okay.
I've been anticipating the most.
Let's go.
So normally for I'm looking at my licensed killer list. This is the question is thoughts on adaptation, but for Houndmaster, it's adaptation and lore, and I have a
Yes.
stake in this, and I'm sure you do too. But
Yes.
thoughts on her lore and her in general character design, I guess is how I want to put this.
I described it in my lore video, actually. Houndmaster feels kind of old school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she feels like a kind of killer that could have, at least in terms of a character and the design, released maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, because that's what I think. I think the really peak character design was from that era. That run of, like, Plague to Twins. I think every killer release in that window had, like, banger lore, banger character design. Like that perfect blend of real historicism and like real historic, real like real folk tales and whatnot with horror tropes. The blend was always good. Up until Twins. Twins were kind of the last of the goats in that era, and Houndmaster calls back to that very well. Like she's a beautiful blend of like classic golden age of piracy, opulence, Yaramati walk the plank, while also feeling very authentic and feeling like she belongs in this game, like belongs in Dead by Daylight. Like her design is just ostentatious enough that you get the sense that she is this, like, she is this pirate queen with a taste for the finer things in life because she grew up wealthy. But it's not over the top. I love it. Oh, like
Well,
she's not particularly complex, but she kind of doesn't need to be.
I think
I enjoy her a lot for what she is.
I think I think you're in the same opinion as me with this as far as the whole not looking like a pirate thing. I do want to preface before I say my thoughts on this. I do think she should get a stereotypical pirate skin. I would
I
love that.
I think April Fool's Day, like a Halloween, like almost like a costume, you know.
Yeah, I would
And then
love it.
then I don't know. Then for a bit, put Snug in a parrot costume, like one of the dog onesies.
Yeah, I love it. Like that would be great. I would love that as a skin. But
Yeah,
uh,
that'd be really fun.
and for those listening, I've mentioned this a few times in other videos. My what is it? Five greats. Grandfather was Bartholomew Roberts. Anyone who knows who that is,
Black Bart.
yes, Blackbart, which by the way died to a grape shot, which is I don't like to shit on my ancestors, but that's hilarious that that's what killed him.
Nasty way to go.
Well,
Yes, to get infected.
yeah, well, he from the records, he died on his ship to one grape shot shell,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is
Okay. That's a bit embarrassing.
yeah, it's just like it's funny in the sense of that like the chances of that happening were so slim.
Yeah, genuinely.
For those who don't know who Black Bart is, if you played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, he's the main villain of that game. And if you have seen the trope of putting a fake flag on pirate ships, he is the inventor is not the right word, proprietor of that.
Yeah, the pioneer of it.
Yeah, which is really funny that someone had to think of that. Anyways,
He gave the name to the term of false flag operation.
yeah, it's just funny that I just always find it funny when stuff like that happens. It's like, what, no one thought about that before, really? Okay.
Fly under false colors.
But he's also part of the reason of where the stereotypical look of a pirate comes from.
Yeah.
Him, Blackbeard, a few others, but
Yeah.
the main point that I
John
think,
Rackham.
yep, and I think the main point a lot of me and other people have made with this is, no, she does not look like a quote pirate, but she looks
like a
like
rich lady.
she looks like a, as someone who knows what they looked like and people have seen the historical documents and looked into it, she looks like a pirate.
She does, yeah. She looks like a woman who does piracy. She doesn't look like Robbie Rotten in the episode Laser Town where they sing about sailing around stealing things. Like there is a very it's what frustrates me when people are like, oh, we need, like, I wish you'd look more stereotypical. I'm like, God, that's really.
It's
Do you see how
boring.
you sound? It's like it's like more slot, please.
I just think it's boring
I
if they came up
I
with that.
I hate creativity. I hate creating our own version of a character and like being creative, especially when we've just had a year of licenses. Like,
Yeah,
God forbid I want to make something with a bit of flavor, you
yeah,
know?
and then the whole like I've heard some people complain about Snug makes no sense. Pirates had dogs. I don't know why people don't
Yeah,
think they did.
and you know who else had dogs? Rich
Everyone?
people.
Yeah, literally everybody.
Yeah, like they're called
like
man's best friend for a goddamn reason.
they like hunting was a thing. People had hunting dogs.
Yeah,
Searching was a
especially
thing.
rich people, especially rich people, and that's her whole thing. Is she spawned from wealth? Like,
It's so baffling to me, and some people will not let this go.
yeah, they won't. They're seeing on my YouTube comments on my videos on her, and
Yeah,
it's like I don't know. Like, do you just want everything to be generic? Do you just want slop? Like, we've just had a year of licenses where everything is exactly as you'd expect it to be in terms of like presenting a character.
and
The least we can ask for is some originals that have a bit of the unique behavior spice. And Houndmaster's got that, and it's brilliant.
yeah, it's
Why
great.
shit on that? Why shit on that?
She's so she. And the other thing is, I feel like, and I know, like we joke about, oh, this would like anything could fit Dead by Daylight. I know a lot of us joke about that. I really
Yeah,
do think like a stereotypical ghost skeleton pirate wouldn't work, even with Vecna being in the
it would
game.
feel so tacky. It would feel tacky.
I think Vecna gets the excuse because his lore makes it work, and the reputation he's had from Dungeons and Dragons being as
Yes,
old as it is makes it work.
like his shadow, and yeah, and also yeah, like D&D gets away with being stereotypical because it made the stereotypes.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
DVD doesn't have that luxury.
And I'm going to talk about the controversy, if you don't mind, real quick.
Of course.
I don't like talking about this because people make me mad when they bring it up.
Okay.
So there was a quote rumor. I'm going to say rumor because no one can give me a source.
Yep.
No one can give me a source on this, but it's for some reason people are adamant that that the Houndmaster started off in production with concept art as a white male slaver. There's a few things with this that I want to make very clear. One, I don't think behavior is that tone deaf. Two, that's not how concept art works. Because even if that is true, which I'm not saying it is, but even if it is true, that's not how concept art works. Concept art is literally throwing everything at the. There is concept art of Mundo where he is a hand. Just a hand with a face on it.
Yeah.
And like, again, like no one can give me a source on this. I don't know where this started. I don't know who made it a thing. It makes no sense to me.
Because I heard it and I heard it early. I've heard many different variations on it. Many different variations on the rumor.
I
Some of
heard,
which I think have more credence than others.
I,
That's all I'm going to go. That's what publicly is all I'm going to go into.
yeah, fair enough. And I don't want to get too deep into it either. All I want to say is like until someone can give me a source on it, I don't even fully believe it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think even if there is some truth to it, it's buried in a mountain of fabrications and assumptions.
Exactly. And again, that's not. I want to make this very clear. That's not how concept art works.
Yeah, like it says, don't take it. If you're listening, don't take it seriously, and it doesn't matter. Like, it's so.
Yeah, it's irrelevant anyways. She is how she is in the game now. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
like it's. I said that is not accurate. I can say that with some level of certainty. But beyond that, I don't want to talk about it publicly.
Okay,
Just,
I got you.
just take it seriously.
I got you.
That's all
Okay.
I gotta say.
All right. Moving a bit. Sorry. That was just something that irks me about the conversation around
Yeah,
this killer sometimes.
of course.
And to the whole pirate aspect of it, I know there was some people debating like you can't tell she's a pirate unless like you read her lore, which
She, I counted. Do you want to know how many cutlasses she has on her like jewelry and on her coat and stuff?
no.
6. She has 6.
Six.
Because she's got like, I think she's got like cufflinks with them on, and she's also got her like neckerchief thing is held in place by a skull with cutlasses on it.
Yeah.
Like 6 cutlasses. 6. How many more do you want? Do you want like an iron throne of cutlasses?
She's not
Do
using
you want
it.
to have a fucking Talon League of Legends cloak of cutlasses?
She's not using it. That's the
it.
problem. She's not using it. She's using it.
I don't care.
She's using a cane with a skull and bones on it. You know, that's not.
Yeah, like, and if there's one image you never think of pirates, especially pirates, it's skulls and bones. Never.
She
They've
also.
never ever used those.
I forgot who I was talking to. I mentioned she has an eye patch, and they could not see the eye patch until I explained where it was.
Yeah.
But
And the way she's wearing it too is also like very, very
accurate.
historically accurate.
Yeah, because eye patches had 2 purposes, and neither of them were to cover eye wounds.
Yep.
They were used to help adjust your eyes in the dark for when you went under the ship, and to help depth perception when you look through a telescope. Or not a telescope. I'm sorry.
Spyglass.
Yeah, spyglass. Yeah, they were used.
The add-on.
Yeah, they were used to help for those things. That's what that was their actual purpose, not eye wounds.
Yep. It's incredibly daft. Media literacy is dead.
And the whole like she's rich thing also makes no sense to me. Pirates were rich. Yeah. Most of them were rich.
And you know what? If they weren't rich, they're pretty shit pirates. You know, crap pirates. They don't make money out of it.
Well,
like no one does piracy for the love of the game.
I mean, there's a reason most pirates were Welsh people. Like, there's a and this is coming from someone with Welsh heritage. Wales sucked.
Yeah.
Like, it sucked. That's why most people left. The economy was bad. You couldn't like make crop growing wasn't good. Hunting wasn't good. So a lot of them left and became pirates.
Yep. Same with Pete. Yep.
Yeah.
Pirates nick people's shit, of course, especially because she, in her lore, was a pirate that targeted other pirates.
Exactly. She's like a Robin Hood. Like,
yeah, but it's like, of course, she takes the best shit that she finds because she grew up rich. She grew up as like a daughter of a colony, and then became a pirate who nicks from pirates. I can't think of someone who would reasonably dress more opulently than that, short of like the Queen of England. Like.
Even like she doesn't have a flintlock, but honestly, we don't. Do we know what exact time period she's from, or do we just have a general idea?
We have a general gist.
Okay, because I mean, not all pirates like flintlocks weren't as common as I think some people think they were.
No, they're not. They weren't. And also, often in many cases, because they're unreliable because of what happened if they got wet.
Yeah, there's a reason why Blackbeard kept 4 of them on his chest. It wasn't because it looked cool, even though everyone.
In case one of them worked.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about Black. Do you know why he had one backwards?
No.
So the 3 he had the correct way, quote unquote, on his left hand. Those are the ones he would fire normally. The one that was pointed right was for him.
I see. That checks out.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, but like that's. I mean, again, it's real life pirates were pretty fucking dark.
Yeah, they were widows. Yeah.
But and again, it's like I don't know where. I hate using this phrase. I blame media.
Yeah, no, it feels like such a. It feels like it almost feels anti-intellectualism. It feels like they're scared of having to engage critically with what's in front of them.
Well,
and it's one of the reasons I have my channel, and one of the reasons I make the videos that I do, because I find that attitude so exhausting. It's so sad.
I think what makes it worse is that whenever like I try to explain it, or anyone tries to explain it, not just me, like you or anyone else, people either deny it or don't care.
Yeah, it's like. I've always said if there's a piece of media that's good enough for you to spend maybe thousands of hours on, then it's good enough for you to give a shit about character design or story once in a while. It's not going to kill you, especially with, again, the amount of licenses that we get these days. Getting an interesting new original is not something we should be taking for granted, given that we've just gone from 2 licenses, getting 2 more licenses in the new year, and then another 2 licenses at the end of last year. Like, we are in the fucking trenches for original content in this game. We're not getting much of it these days compared to licenses. So the least you can do is try to engage with the originals when they try to like push the boat out. Pun unintended. And try to make something that they can genuinely be proud of as behaviour's own creation. Like, the least you can do is give it the time of day. It's not too much to ask for, I think.
And like all the stuff I was saying about Snug's design, like earlier, where I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they made the flappy skin so he looks older and kind of cute, but they also made him like a brick shit house from the neck down, which
Yeah.
adds to the intimidation. I'm not a character designer. I have done very little studying on it, but like a lot of that is just like looking at what they've done, taking the interpretation from that, and then understanding it. Like,
Just thinking, hey, why did they do this? That's a very important question to ask. Is not what do I think of this? It's why did they do this?
I
The most important question you can ask about anything relating to any piece of art is why was this done?
do you
And try and answer that from the point of view of the person who made it.
do you know Renata Glask from League of Legends?
I do.
So
I know.
I remember when Renata, a lot of people were discussing her design, and this is another thing with character design that's really cool too. Is there's a lot of information that even character designers don't necessarily like. They take into account, but like even people like character designers looking at other characters and like trying to understand and analyze them, they'll miss stuff too. Like I remember I brought because Renata wears her gun. She wears it in a seated stance on her offhand, which basically means she would. What that means and tells me is, and this is as someone who was a gun nut for a long time. I was in the army, of course I was. But what that tells me is that she doesn't plan on ever using her gun unless she's sitting down. It's such a small detail, and like a bunch of people were telling me, like, oh, it's really interesting. And the character designer for the character, I remember this on Twitter because it was like a big thread. Actually, told me, yeah, that was their idea with it.
Nice.
It's small little things like that. And even on Houndmaster, like I said, even with from the wrinkles to the eye patch to the weapon, like there's just
it always comes together.
Yeah, even the boots. Like I heard some people complaining about the heels. Look up pirate boots right now.
Yeah. Like, I think my favorite detail like that on any character in DBD is actually a twin skin. It's the first skin they got after their release, which was the Waterfront Massacre skin, where they look all like made of covered in like shipwreck stuff. There is obviously the main weapon is like a pile of fishing hooks all tied together, but there is a second knife on the skin, and it dangles at about Charlotte's waist or just above her waist, and it's like, looking at it on its own, you wouldn't think anything of it. Then you look at it together and you realise that knife is for Victor, because it's small and it's right next to where his hand is.
That's neat.
Like, it's just a little detail. It's like, wow, yeah, that is a skin. That is a knife that Charlotte has got and like whittled down because it's made of like whalebone for Victor.
That's cool.
And that's a really nice little touch on a skin that no one thought about, because who pays attention to twin skins except me? Or like the V on, it's like in Skull Merchant's company logo. Her father named his original manga character Adi Valiente, and obviously Adi is a like diminutive of Adriana. So we don't know the name of her company, but I headcanon the name of her tech company as Valentech after her father's character. That he obviously based on her, and that would make sense because of the V in the logo.
Yeah, I could see. And again, like these are small little things. Like character design tells a story.
It does, yeah.
As the other, I know some people, as much as I would advise them to, and as much as I'm being a little hypocritical here, I would advise people to read the lore. But if you're not going to read the lore, you can tell so much about a character from their design.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's one that I loved, and this is from the new chapter. Look at Tori in the lobby, and then look at Plague. Their hand motions are exactly the same. Like, Tori holds her left hand and like with her fingers splayed out in the same way that Adiris holds her hand out when she's holding her sensor, and like her, I animation she does on like loop. Hers is like a prayer where she throws her hands out and speaks to the sky, and Adira does exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and that's a nice connection considering
Yeah,
they're technically the same, but not.
yeah. It was a lot of fuel in my fire of the headcanon that the Black Veil
Yeah.
was initially made of Adira's cultists.
Yeah, and speaking of Tori, I mean, I haven't really talked about her at all, but I love her.
I adore Tori. I think
She is like the most original character they've made, in my opinion, in years.
I think she's the best written survivor in the game, and that's a bold claim, but I think she has the best survivor lore in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're the one who actually started it in my streams. I mean, I had like an entire hour long discussion one day about what evil actually means.
Yes,
And Tori was kind of the catalyst for that, and I think it's part of why her lore is so good.
it's exceptional. Guys, I think this chapter is like Houndmaster's lore is on the level of some of the really good stories from, like back in the day, Slinger, Plague, Legion, Legion actually, yeah, Twins, Blight. The worst you could say is it's a bit derivative of those stories, especially Deathslingers. Like she's got a lot in common with Slinger, and not always in a good way. But the fact that we've gotten a very competently written original killer, probably better than the last couple of years of original killer writing, better than artists, possibly better than Unknown, depending on your perspective, better than almost certainly Singularity and Merchant and Knight, and yet she's still the worst written of the two characters in her chapter, because Tori is just that good.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. I could be. They don't really have a connection, do they?
They don't have a
Nothing.
strict. They didn't know each other anyway, because obviously
Yeah,
hundreds of years
time
apart.
periods.
But
Yeah.
their big connection is that they're both linked with the overlaps, and spend a lot of time in the overlaps without any sort of protection, because the island that Portia got marooned on with Snug was an overlap.
Okay.
So she was living basically on the entity's realm's doorstep for about a decade or longer, with Snug by her side. And Tori was similar. She went in to the overlap of her own free will, unprotected, to try and save her parents, and she kept going back because the cult wanted her to. So both of them are people who have, for a very long time, been exposed to the prolonged effects of being right on the entity's doorstep.
Sorry, I'm only laughing. I just realized something.
Yes.
Tori is just Sable's lore, but better.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, no, like almost everything is Sable's lore better. But let's be honest. But
I just meant like the catalyst for being in the realm in the first place.
yeah, no, I have so much love for Tori's lore. It's so well done.
And they quelled my fears because I thought with her being having a buzz cut, I thought it was gonna affect skins, and that it did not.
Yeah.
Which
God, her skins are so good.
oh my god, I was so scared. I was so scared they were gonna mess it up.
Yeah, but she's a real home run of a character in basically every single way. And I will say this: I have never wanted to own a piece of DBD clothing as much as her ugly sweater. Like, I'm tempted to my little sister. She crochets. I'm tempted to give her £200 and a giant bundle of yarn and say, "Make me that."
I remember
So exceptional.
I remember looking through the sweaters this year, and I was like, I got to hers, and I thought it was really good, and then I just remember getting the Sables. And listen, my hate for Sable has been pretty vocal. Most people know I do not like Sable for a lot of reasons.
Me too.
But I want to say this, unbiased towards my Sable hate. Sable's sweater is one of the worst ones they've ever made.
It's really bad, yeah. I'm really upset that Lara didn't get one, because Lara's my current main survivor. Like, sorry, Hattie. But Lara not getting one, it broke my heart.
She had options. Like she's worn a
really
sweater.
did.
She's worn a sweater before.
Many times. And there's so much imagery they could take from the series to put on it too. Like so much they could take. Like imagining, you know how Jill's sweater has like a gun holster on the back, like stitched on. Like I'm imagining her with like her dual pistols, like stitched on.
Or hear me out. We could put her pickaxe somewhere on it. You know,
Oh, that would be
from the
cool.
Survivor
Yeah,
games that doesn't get mentioned anywhere, even though it's the Survivor. Anyways, okay. Um,
yeah,
I was so disappointed there wasn't something that mentioned it in any way, uh, other than I guess Scavenger technically does. Uh,
yeah.
but
And she has a charm, I think.
maybe I don't. I don't
Yeah. The charm you got for buying the chapter was the climbing axe.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess that's something. Um, where was
And
I?
it's and you know when she came with the rift as well. She was in her outfit was in the rift.
Mm-hmm.
Her little vinyl doll that you got as a charm. She's holding the axe in that.
Oh, okay.
I know this because they're both on my Lara charm belt.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I will stop talking about her, I promise. But part of the reason I think Sable's sweater doesn't work is I looked through. It's because she doesn't have any pants.
Yes, she doesn't have any pants, and that's very frustrating.
Because a sweater and a skirt doesn't really work.
Not exactly.
It just looks off. I don't know.
It's worth her trouble getting the right pants for Hattie's sweater
Mm-hmm.
because her pants are all 3/4 length, or they're covered in belts and straps.
I just
So
yeah.
it's like they all look really awkward. By the way, if anyone is wondering, her new celestial like constellation sweater
Mm,
with the noir pants. Try that out.
mm,
It's really good.
mm. Yeah, I like the celestial sweaters. I hope they bring those back. Actually, they're really nice.
Me too.
Yeah. I thought the choices for what the constellations were was weird, but whatever.
I agree.
I don't know why Zarina's has a lynx on it. I don't know what has anything to do with Zarina, but
I have no idea. What I do know though is that Lynxie is a Zarina player.
oh
Like
oh
she's
she,
a, she's a,
oh
she's a, she's a favorite survivor.
she loves it then I'm sure.
Yeah, she's overjoyed.
Also the beanie from her tech wear works the best as a headgear for it.
Yeah, good shout.
Uh, People shit on that cosmetic so much. It's so good. Speaking of cosmetics, Houndmaster's cosmetics, because this is an interesting talk. Because Houndmaster is the first killer to be introduced with a power-changing cosmetic
Yes.
that will run you $18.
Yep. I don't own it.
You don't own it?
I don't own it. I was going to get it with shards. We didn't realize I thought you couldn't get it with shards because it was too new.
Mm-hmm.
Spent the shards on the twin set, the blood and guts one, and then realized I could have spent my shards on it. So I'm sitting here with 21,000 shards
At
on a
least,
carrot.
at,
Yeah, I could have actually waited a bit longer to get the Hound Master skin,
yeah.
but I don't own it.
As much as people complain about the pricing, which trust me, I agree to an extent. At least you can get it with shards. That's nice.
Yeah, you can. I think the actual quality of the skin itself isn't really an issue. I just think it's not very exciting other than the dog change.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could have gone a bit like for charging that much, make the base look feel luxurious. Make it feel like the ultimate Houndmaster. It just feels like it would be a decent skin.
Mm-hmm.
But they're charging double the price because it's changing the dog too. And it's like you can do better than that.
Yeah, and
It's solid. It's solid. I think it should have been for this skin. Yes, change the Mori, as chat said. You could change the Mori as well. That would have been pretty great.
Yeah.
That would have made it worth the money. Or keep it the way it is and set it to the price tag of Naughty Bear.
how much is Naughty Bear? 15?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Honestly, I think it
yeah,
should only be 15 personally.
yeah. Make it Naughty Bear price.
I don't like. Don't get me wrong. Snug changing is cool, and I do hope we get more. By the way, if they, just throwing this out there, change Snug to a panther, and I will love you forever.
I think someone had an idea for a Christmas themed Houndmaster skin where she is Santa, and Snug has little antlers tied to his head and like a red nose that glows when he's touching.
That would be great. I think me and you talked about this too before they showed it because they talked about it before the release. I don't remember if it was me and you. We were debating on like which cosmetic part it would be tied to, and I'm actually kind of disappointed that it's a set.
Yeah, well, I get why it's a set. I do understand that.
I mean, they could add another cosmetic option.
Maybe, but then it creates issues with because they've also the older characters are also getting hanging power skins in the process, and by older characters I mean Knight and Twins. Like God, how much is a Night Skin going to be? 'Cause that's going to have 4 unique models.
4 unique models, probably a different
Knight and
Mori.
one for each card. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's going to be like. I know Pixie is going to be bankrupt. But I'm gonna put my stake in the ground now. And I'm gonna say I think I know what the twins power skin is going to be, and I think I know when it's coming.
What do you think and when?
Because twins right now are the oldest original killer yet to get a blighted skin. And blighting Charlotte but not blighting Victor would look really fucking weird. And they don't make twin skins very often. So when they do make them, and especially if they are making power skins for twins, which I'm almost certain they are, they're going to want to make sure it sells. And one of the best-selling collections of all time is the Blight skins.
Right.
So I think Blighted Twins, October this year, a set with Blighted Victor included.
And before anyone,
I think that is my big brain pixel predicts Blighted Twins October.
before anyone asks, no, none of my leaker friends have told me about it. I have no idea.
Nope, and nor mine.
Yeah.
This is just me reaching into the veins of time and
felt-
pulling out something maybe not wishful thinking.
Speaking of leaker friends,
It aligns. It makes sense.
oh, it does for sure. I mean, maybe not this. I mean, I would hope it's this year, but
Right, it's only because twins are the oldest killer yet to get a blighted skin.
it was Deathslinger, and
Yeah, and I say I got a skin.
yeah, which was really disappointing for me, for my Deathslinger friends, because I couldn't tell them. But I knew. I've known since like March of last year, and I couldn't tell them.
Yeah, my predictions for the blighted skins this year are Springtrap, twins, and the sales of Springtrap will make up for the sales of twins. And maybe one other licensed character, so possibly Vecna.
If it's Springtrap, by the way, there's still a chance it's Baby or Danny.
Behavior is not in the business of saying no to infinite money forever. So
I'm just saying. I said this on Twitter. Vanny makes more sense lore wise. Just saying.
Vanny with her one voice line, "Are you having fun yet?"
Baby would actually, the Baby would actually be very interesting. Personally, someone mentioned that to me, and I was like, you know what? I actually kind of like that.
Yeah, I just know Behavior likes the classics, and it's pretty about classics you can get for FNAF. So I'd be amazed if they didn't pick him.
It could also be the Mimic just being Springtrap. That's also
it could do, but again, I think Behavior is far too fond of the infinite money glitch.
Well, no, I'm just saying to not interrupt like the lore heads.
Fair enough.
They could make it Springtrap visually, but if you read the lore, it says it's the Mimic.
Yeah, possibly. I can see it.
That could satisfy the best of both worlds. But who knows?
Yeah.
None of us know anything, which is odd.
Not yet.
Which is very odd. None of us know shit about the FNAF chapter.
Here's the fun part. Scott's writing it the day before the PTB comes out.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, that'd be pretty on brand.
Yeah, but something else I do want to mention about the legendary or whatever class.
Yes.
What is it called now? Visceral.
Visceral, yes.
Yeah, the visceral skin. It's technically pay to win.
Is it? I didn't realize.
So
is it because of the hair?
It's because of the hair. It's nothing major. I'm not saying like you put it on and you win every match, but technically she's shorter with it.
Yes, she is, because her hair's like flat down as opposed to being like a beehive.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't care. I don't think anyone really does. I just think it's a funny little anecdote with it.
Yes.
And then her weapon skins are actually really good.
They are.
I run the crow one because I love it.
I run the bloody weapon with the cheetah, with a cheetah print red outfit. Because I think it looks nice.
I do find it odd that other than the visceral skin, there isn't one with like a dog's head on it. It seems like an obvious one to put on.
Indeed.
But yeah, what is her weapon, by the way? Technically speaking, it is a cane, right?
It's I think it's like a stiletto concealed within a cane.
Okay, yeah. I mean, sword canes aren't or weren't uncommon, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they were
that
not.
makes sense. I'm just curious. Also, her weapon animation. Oh my god, her weapon animation.
It's really good.
It is the best
I,
since Clowns. It's the best since Clowns. I will die
it's
on
so
that
good.
hill.
I think, I think if it's a base weapon wipe, yes, but full massive bias here. Nothing is beating the reload on Merchant's buzzsaw.
Oh, the one where like she like clicks it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
that
fair
is
enough.
so satisfying. Oh,
As
just thinking about it, it's like, oh, it gives me tingles. Oh,
as
that's good.
as much as like I joke about how Chucky is the killer that gets the most value from skins because I actually get to see them, he probably has the shittest blade wipe in the entire game. He doesn't even have
It's
one.
really, yeah, like Chucky's animations in general are kind of like that, where they're just sort of they're they are they don't get to see them in much detail because they're very exaggerated
Hmm.
because of his like cartoonish nature and that
Yeah,
he's so small you have to be exaggerated in order to be able to see them.
yeah, it's great. But yeah, Houndmaster's blade wipe is so good.
It's really good,
Is
yeah.
it any different on the visceral?
I don't think so, but again, I don't own it, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I feel like it should be, but yeah, whatever.
Probably, yeah. It's something that put on your like super premium skin.
If you're gonna make like a super expensive skin, go all out behavior,
Yeah, and they
please.
really haven't. Like, next time I do this, i.e., Blighted Twins, I imagine they probably will because of the backlash to this one.
Even like the Were Elk, like and even Naughty Bear to a degree. Like Naughty Bear, you know what? I'll actually say Naughty Bear is probably the base. That should be the base on what these skins are.
Yeah, like I will not take Naughty Bear slander. I love Naughty Bear.
Mhm.
Like everything from the lobby menu where he's like hiding behind his little leaf to the voiceover that you can only hear from the bear's perspective because the voices in his head.
Did you play the games?
I did, yes.
Okay, okay. Then you know.
Like Naughty Bear's wonderful. I love Naughty Bear.
Ugh.
But I also think it should be the baseline for skins of that quality, and certainly not skins more expensive than it.
Yeah.
Like
Even has
Naughty Bear's so good though.
it even has a special voice line if you P100 wearing it.
Yeah,
Like no one would have cared if that was a thing, but they did it anyways.
yeah. And it's like, why didn't Ultimate Houndmaster get that level of quality? I don't understand.
Or Were Elk, like Were
But
Elk.
I'm hoping at least. Oh, but I think Baba Yaga did. Baba Yaga's great.
Yeah,
But it didn't
but
have its own glory.
yeah, but I mean, Were Elk has a lot going for it. I feel like personally, it's not different enough. Like,
Agreed. Especially
especially
because she also has Baba Yaga.
yeah, uh, it's Huntress though. She'll get another chance, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I expect a second visceral skin within the year,
Yep.
especially with 2v8.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, especially with 2v8.
No, I reckon we should be keeping an eye out for a visceral skin for either Twins or Knight in the next year. My money being on Twins, just because again they don't make skins of them very often, so I could see them being like, okay, we're gonna just to shut the Twins players up,
Just
we're gonna release like
shut all two of them up.
oh a spoiler or why Knight because he's the other character who's likely to get skins for his power. So the when they said, "Oh, we're working on skins to give powered skins to older characters," like Knight is a slam dunk for that.
Right.
So is I would think Artist and Merchant.
Artist, I feel like it. The Halloween one, she just got the candy one. I think it's the first
Yeah.
time they've ever changed the color.
Yes, this is the first time.
Yeah, and
But I could 100% see them giving like changing the animal,
mhm.
maybe, for her theming for a visceral skin. And Merchant, there is so much they could do.
They just change it from a crow to a raven. That'll be $15.
Like a dragon themed artist skin.
Oh, that
Like
would be
like an
so,
evolution of Jabberwocky with like little drakes.
bro, that would be so
Be
cool.
sick.
Did you? I'm assuming you did. The survey they just posted. What are
Yes.
your thoughts on the idea they had for pets?
I think they need to be done with extreme care and would probably need to be client sided so you wouldn't be able to see other people's, or at least have an option, because it would make stealthing basically impossible.
Yeah, I had a thought and about League of Legends jungle animals.
Yes, or jungle pets, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it could be similar to that. So like it's not a cosmetic, more so it's a perk that does it.
Yeah, maybe I could see that.
I think that could be interesting and like
Although, I will say categorically, I want Jeff's dog.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
because Jeff's lore ends on a really sad note where Jeff's dog gets abandoned because he has no one to care for it, and he's gone in the trials now. So like the dog gets abandoned and is like on the street as a stray.
I just,
I want Jeff to reunite with his dog in the fog. God damn it! If Portia can get her dog, why can't Jeff get his dog?
I just thought about something. What if we get a skin for Houndmaster where Snug is Maurice and she's just cosplaying clown?
That would certainly be a choice. Although it would be fun to have Puppy Snug as a little pet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because remember, she grew up with Snug. Like Snug was a puppy when he first got her. So like a little puppy Snug would be delightful.
Yeah, and Ken Corso puppies are fucking adorable.
They're so cute. Oh.
They're, I mean, the thing is, there's so many species of dogs, and like, it's a video game, so they can.
Yeah.
I've heard some people suggest pugs. I mean, I've suggested a borzoi because I think they're hilarious. I just like I've heard golden retriever, Dalmatian. Like, there's so many, and a lot of these, like, you wouldn't even have to necessarily change the dog. You could just change the color.
Yeah, you absolutely could. Like,
Like a Dalmatian skin.
I think there's options. I wouldn't necessarily say no to it in on principle, but it would need to be done very carefully.
Yeah, that's true.
I think. But I'd still want to see Jeff's dog because Jeff's dog is like such a sad ending to the story where it's like they didn't even pay attention to what even happened to Jeff, just that he disappeared and that his dog was like abandoned because he lived on his own and no one cared for it.
It's the Futurama episode with oh my god, I can't remember his name.
Literally, yeah, with Fry and his dog.
Yeah. Um. Other than her visceral skin though, is there any other particular skin she has? Because most of the other ones are like basically just recolors, right?
Yeah, but they're good recolors. Like in general, her skins have looked pretty good. Again, I used the red one with the cheetah print, with the bloody weapon. I think that's a really nice combo. I think more people should use her. You know, her. I think they're the green rarity ones, or yeah, whether she's got like the grey hair and that like mountaineering outfit, which I really like that. It's a bit more utilitarian than her normal outfits, but I do like it. I am looking forward to seeing what she gets in the future, though.
And
I'm really looking forward to when they decide to make her even more opulent.
someone did mention in chat too. I do kind of hope we get to see the other dogs too. I know they'd all be the same breed as Snug.
They'd all be Cane Corsos, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you can make variations. So there's ways to make them look different. One could be missing an ear. One could be like.
One could have a nice like a fancier collar, maybe.
Yeah, or it could literally just be recolors. Like I really wouldn't mind that so much.
Splotchy one.
Splotchy one. What was the joke I made where they should turn Snug into an orange cat so the bugs are lore accurate?
That's brilliant.
He's not bugging. It's just how cats are. It's fine. I will die on the hill though. I still want a panther skin. I don't know. It just a giant black dog as a panther just makes sense.
Like I kind of want to see her get like a sci-fi skin and then have like a cyborg dog, kind of like Rex from Fallout.
I want more sci-fi skins in general. We don't get like barely any, if any.
No, like seeing her some sort of like tech baronet or something with like a cyber dog would be fucking sick.
Cool with the brain. Like I wouldn't even care if they like straight up copied New Vegas and just put like the brain cylinder thing on the top. It'd be so good. And then you said your favorite weapon though is the bloody one.
Yeah, at least yeah. The ranging weapons and whatnot are nice, but I think the bloody weapon, like head weight weapon time, is just so good. That the bloody weapon is just looks really nice. I like it a lot, especially in the lobby when you see it as part of the full cane.
Oh yeah, and
her base weapons are very bright on the screen. Like you see, actually, I'm running the titanium one in the footage right now, and that's very bright. But I think the bloody just fits the vibe.
Fair enough.
It just fits the vibe.
And we kind of went into it a little bit, but do you have a dream skin for her, like an actual like one you think would happen?
There's a lot of possibilities. I think I would like to. I'd like to see them get even more opulent. Like, obviously, she's meant to be an extravagant character, but I think she's lacking in bright colors.
Mm-hmm.
So something very bright and very florid, I think, could be a lot of fun.
They don't tend to do that with killers for some reason on skin
They
sites, I
don't.
feel.
But I think Houndmaster's one that they could get away with it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, she does get up and get dressed herself in the morning rather than wearing like their same tattered rags every day like Hillbilly and Doctor do. You know,
Yeah.
like she might be one of the few kids who has shudders, a wardrobe, like her own sense of style that she actually would like dress to rather than just putting on whatever's left.
I mean,
in
Billy had a
yesterday's
wardrobe. He just slept in it, but it's fine.
clothes. Oh, but like. It's like killers who might actually like make conscious decisions about how they look are like Skull Merchant, her,
Trickster.
Trickster, maybe Knight, sort of. That's about it really. Maybe Deathslinger in a very limited sense.
I think Knight and Deathslinger are more pragmatical choices.
Yeah, yeah, or specifically get close to look intimidating, and like it's kind of the worst they could do.
Yeah.
But yeah, in
And
general, not many killers have
and
anything resembling their own fashion sense. But Hamas is one of them, so I think she could have something a bit more provocative, a bit more wild.
and if we don't ever get like a full pirate skin, or like a stereotypical pirate skin, I'm fine with that. At the very least, though, can she get a tricorn hat? At the very least,
That would be so good. I think honestly, something like I'm almost imagining her as like a general almost. You know, like give her something that looks military. I think that would suit her like commanding presence.
Yeah. I mean, if Vittorio can have modern fits, why can't
Yeah,
why can't
I'm
Houndmaster?
imagining like World War II Northern Front type stuff. You know, like big coat, Ushanka hat, husky.
Moving on a bit to stats. I know this one's a little harder to do with her being recent. What is her track stat? Do you know?
I think it's on injures while the dog has grabbed you.
Okay, so it's actually not that bad of one, honestly.
It's not. Although I've noticed I've been blue balling myself out of it because I run Starstruck. So I don't injure, I dash down them, or I'm running like anti-healing, so I'm running Gift of Pain. So either way, I'm not injuring them with a dog, I'm leaving them injured, or I'm exposed downing them. So I'm actually cucking myself out of challenge progress. Whereas the Stibiffle rats are raking it in.
Are you on the leaderboards at least?
I am. I am. I think I'm. I'll take a look now actually because I've looked before, and I am on it.
Well, okay. Let me rephrase that because someone's going to say something. Are you? If I look at it, are you like in like the top 100 or anything like that?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I'm certainly. Yeah, I'm in the top 100. I think for Merchant and for Houndmaster. I think it might be higher for Houndmaster just because she's so new.
What a fucking what a fucking resume.
Yeah. I might have. I'll look now. Houndmaster.
While you do that, I'm gonna go find the viewer questions real quick.
I'm certainly. I know. I'm somewhat relevant on there at least. Not a complete unknown. Yeah. Right now, number 72.
70. Jesus.
70. Well, for a little bit, I was a lot higher, but I've slowed down playing her lately. I think the highest I got to was like in the 30s. But then I slowed down because I was busy.
Does she have a secondary stat that's tracked, or is she?
I don't think so. I think it's just that one.
Okay, she's not one of the lucky killers. There's two.
No.
I mean that's still pretty impressive, all things considered.
Yeah, I am higher on Merchant. No, on Merchant I'm on 49. And I think that's honestly more impressive because bear in mind for Merchant I was also a year late.
Yeah, it's like Horser. Horser got like
several months late.
Yeah, Horser got like number 4 on Nemesis down. Nemesis whip hits 2 years after release.
Wow.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah, because I'm never catching the number 1 merchants or like the really high up ones like Vindrova because they were playing her since like her first PTB and are still playing her now. I'm never catching them in a million years.
I'm never catching the Chucky ones if it makes you feel any better. It's literally impossible. Yeah. Someone's at 12,000 scamper hits because
Vindrova's at 17,000 merchant claw trap downs. And CM9I even is at 6,000 and he's at number 8. For reference, I am at 1,700.
1,700?
So maybe with time, I can maybe catch up to CM99 because I know he stopped playing Merchant now. Maybe I can catch up to him. It's probably about as high as I'm going to get.
You'd be surprised. Again, a lot of people like burn themselves out trying to get there, and then they kind of just stop for a while. And it gives you time.
Yeah,
As long as the number's not like something completely astronomical, it's possible.
yeah, because there's Vindruva and then someone I don't know. They are at the top two, constantly jousting for number one
Mm,
at 17,000 each. And then the gap down is significant. And then there's a couple at 9, and then a few at 7 and 6. But the Houndmaster is different because she's so brand new.
fair enough.
Like the top on Houndmaster is 5,000.
Mm.
Dog injuries. And I am at 650.
Mm.
So
I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting more.
yeah. Well, again,
Yeah.
I've slowed down playing her, especially because I've also gotten back into Merchant again.
Mm.
I've been playing a lot of Serve as well, and also just been busy doing other things. Like I played her a lot on the PTB, which didn't count my hits as well. Like I was a lot higher a couple of weeks ago. I was in the first, let's say, 4 days, I was in the 30s. But I've slowed down. A lot of people have picked her up,
Fair enough.
or like have really gone into her in the past week or so since the buffs.
Fair enough. Um, moving on to the viewer questions now that I'm
Course.
done with mine. I'm gonna ask this first one because like 15 people asked it.
Okay.
Let me just say my community are sometimes children. What the dog doing? I swear to you, that was most of the questions.
I guess it depends on the patch. Sometimes he's sticking to walls. Sometimes he's sliding through the floor. Most of the time, he's just being a good boy and biting survivors on the ass, as he should, as is his right. And that's all we really want, you know.
Before I move on to the next one, a word to my community. I love you guys. Jesus Christ. 15 of you guys asked this question. Why?
That's nowhere.
Okay. Next one from a Discord from Goofy Goobers.
Yes.
Opinions on the recent balance changes where killers that survivors complain about going against get nerfed into the ground. Do you think Scully and Chucky are outliers, or do you think this may turn into the new status quo?
I think Merchant is an outlier. I don't think Chucky. It's going to sound awful to say to you, but I don't think Chucky's been hit that hard.
He hasn't. He hasn't.
Like I see people saying, "Oh, Chucky got merchanted." No, he didn't.
So okay, all right. I need to clarify this because people accuse me of repeating this rhetoric. The only reason I compared it to Skull Merchant wasn't the severity of the nerf. I tried to make this very clear.
Okay.
The reason I was comparing it to Skull Merchant was the reason for the nerf, not the severity of it.
Fair enough. I think the difference also that Chucky was legitimately a really good killer, and Merchant really wasn't. Like Merchant was at her best a low B to high C tier killer before the nerfs came. Like I can see a desire to nerf Chucky for power level reasons. They were the wrong nerfs, but I can see that desire to bring him down for power level reasons.
Right.
Merchant was not a power level reason. Merchant was just 'cause people complained and people didn't know how to go against her. Like by all reasonable accounts, Merchant was not even remotely overpowered.
Yeah.
I could see the bizarre behavior brain where they think Chucky is legitimately too strong. There is no universe in which Merchant was ever too strong. Like that's why I think there's a difference between Merchant and Chucky. Merchant was an outlier for that exact reason. Like, if anything, I think it's more concerning the other way, where regardless of how strong the killer is, if people don't find them exciting to play or think they're weaker than they are, they'll get giga buffed. That I think is more concerning.
Yeah.
Because Merchant was an outlier, and she probably always will be, which is really fucking depressing to think of from my perspective. But the wider community shouldn't be worried about that, because what happened to Merchant was very unique because she was that hated by people who were that fucking loud about it. And I don't think that's likely to happen again, especially after seeing what happened to Merchant when it did happen. What should be far more concerning, I think, is killers that are actually like better than people give them credit for, but have maybe a high skill flaw or who are unintuitive,
Hmm.
and get overbuffed because people are bad at playing them. Because that happened to Houndmaster, it happened to Singularity, it happened several thousand times for Billy. Like, remember when they made Billy the best killer in the game in a bug fix patch when they buffed his curve rate?
Yeah.
And he's still like a top 2, top 3 killer now
Twins
because people
PTB.
just want people. Twins PTB, another great example of that happening, where a killer that did not need the buffs they got it because players didn't know what to do with them. Like, I see people today think Twins are bad. I see people today thinking Hound Master is bad, thinking that Singularity is bad, and that should scare you to death because you don't want killers to be that obnoxiously strong, even if you play them, because it makes them brain dead. And I'm shit scared of if they can, like, even Dracula, even the Dracula changes. People are saying, oh yeah, like wolf form is the weakest form. No, it's not. Wolf form was his best form before the buffs, and then they buffed it because everyone complained about Bat.
Hmm.
And it's like
I, I,
it's really scary. It's really scary.
I think another thing with it is like with because now that you say that, like I was scared for Pinhead for the opposite reason, but the more I think about it, no, Pinhead might get the Houndmaster treatment.
I think that Pinhead's going to get the worst of both worlds. I think he's going to get made weaker but easier. Um, like Pinhead. I don't know what to expect. I really don't.
Yeah, I still don't know what to expect with Plague either.
I think, yeah. Oh well, Pinhead's the only killer I think who might come close to Merchant in terms of like being nerfed because he's hated.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because much like Merchant, also his kill rate is abnormally high.
Mm-hmm.
But I, but the fact that they've put those changes off indicates that I don't think that's going to necessarily happen because they said they changed when I come much sooner than they were.
Yeah, we'll see. The other thing with Skull Merchant, I did want to bring this up with Skull Merchant,
Yep.
because I heard someone say that the hate has died down since the change. No, it hasn't. The hate is still there. Uh,
I think it's
she's
become less widespread,
because
but
she's
the
not played
people,
as much.
yeah, but the people who hated her before, the overwhelming majority of them still hate her now. The people who were neutral or just weren't too fond of her but were like fine, like she's just another killer they didn't particularly like,
Hmm.
they have become sympathetic. But the people who hate her have, for the most part, been like eating up the past month or two.
Hmm.
They've been having a grand old time, and they still hate her to this day. I know I still get the DCs. I still get the people in the post game chat, in my YouTube comments, in on Twitter and Blue Sky, in my fucking business emails, whining about this killer now,
I
and it's dismal.
and again, and I don't want to completely compare it to Chucky because I do understand that it is completely different, but same thing happened. Like after these nerfs, like he again has the number two lowest kill rate. Everyone's complaining about playing as him. I still see people say he's OP and worthy of the hate. Like, and I really do hope that these two killers still getting the hate that they do get after these changes proves to behavior that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what you do. Like that, like that's one thing that has taken some solace in. Is like I'm hoping at least they understand that there are some people who will just never be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and so and you know what that means. That means they're really easy to ignore because there's nothing you can do to please them. So why would you even try to?
I mean, if we can ignore them with getting DMs of people telling us to unalive ourselves, thanks YouTube for making
Yeah,
me have to say it that way.
yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
think behavior can ignore them.
Yeah, I know one merchant streamer. I'm not going to say his name. Who has, or at least for a while, had to play on a VPN because he was getting doxxed for playing Skull Merchant. He's not a big streamer, so like
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like it was a like he doxed and beef for somebody. He's not a big streamer. He just for playing Merchant, he was getting doxxed, so he had to stream with the VPN. I don't know if he still does or not, but he did. And it's like you can't reason with those people. You can't redesign or rebalance a killer around those people. They're fucking animals. And behavior capitulating to them, the notion of that disgusts me.
And
Absolutely disgusts me.
and I mean, even like the one other similarity I feel with Scorpion and Chucky is I still see people in your comment sections in particular still complaining about 3 gen Skull Merchant
Yep.
when that hasn't been a thing for almost over a year now.
Yeah, it has been over a year now because it was October.
Yeah,
October 2023 it got reworked.
and I still get people complaining in my comment sections about Scamper.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah, that checks
literally
out.
nothing you can do behavior. I'm sorry. There's no, people have made their decision. Not saying that, and for Chucky in particular, and this is the other thing. A lot of us even agreed he needed a nerf. This just wasn't the way to do it.
Yep.
And Skull Merchant didn't really need it at all. If anything, she needed buffs, but that's a
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah, Merchant is now a smouldering crater where a killer used to be. But you know what? I'm still playing her. She's still my favourite. And I know I'm on the Houndmaster podcast episode and everything. Houndmaster is my number 2.
mm,
And if they fully go through with like Predator style ripping Merchant's spine out, when the rework comes and they actually just make her not the killer I care about anymore, then I probably will be moving on to Houndmaster with my number 1. But yeah, it'll take a lot more than nerfing a killer into the bottom of D tier to get me to stop playing that behavior. And if you guys think otherwise, you got another thing coming, buddy.
fair enough.
It's
Uh,
like you've given up on this killer does not mean that I have.
and I think a lot of people who this has happened to, the trickster community, I think is a very good example of this as well. Um, because most of the ones that stuck around, one made him work, and two were. I'm glad they got their redemption. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I'm living in hope.
So we'll see what happens. It's all we can do right now is just hope and wait for both
Yeah,
of our killers. um, again, to clarify, not the same severity, but yeah. Anyways, next question is a lore one about Vecna.
yeah.
Thoughts on if Vecna is still tied to the weave in the entity's realm, since the animation now features a portal opening up, implying he can come and go whenever he wishes.
I don't like if Vecna's lore in the trials makes it somewhat clear that if he wanted to leave, he would.
Oh,
If he could leave, he would.
okay.
Like he makes it quite clear that he's here to learn what he can, and then fuck off. But I think if he was ever going to, if he was ever going to stay, if he was going to leave, he would do so he would do so when he's done, not before, and he wouldn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he's always done things. He's not the kind of guy to kind of because if he could leave, why would he participate in the trials? What reason would he ever have to do that?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
Like
I'm
I,
sure. I'm sure.
I think that I think Vecna has bitten off way fucking more than he can chew, which is pretty on brand for him.
If we ever get the D&D tome, like a lot of us think we're going to get, I really do hope
Yeah,
they go a little bit more into it.
yeah,
But we'll see on that.
indeed we shall.
Next, what's your least favorite non-licensed survivor in killer lore?
Well, has anyone heard of a survivor called Jonah Vasquez?
I knew you were going to say Joe. Actually, probably I'm pretty sure I know who the killer one is too.
Well, like we all know that it was going to be like Sable crossed my mind briefly, but Sable is just bad. Jonah is offensive.
Fair
Like
enough.
Jonah is like Jonah wouldn't be as bad if he didn't come with us like Carmina, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like she's her whole thing is that she was based on she's a victim of the Pinochet like coup in Chile in the 70s, and the Black Veil used them as like a cover to hurt her and hurt the people she loved.
Mm-hmm.
And she in particular is based on a real artist, a guy called Victor Hara, who was killed by the Pinochet regime in the first week of the takeover. He was killed horribly. He got his hands smashed into pulps by his torturers and then told to play the guitar for them. Like, that's why she doesn't have hands, because she's based on this real guy who got his hands basically like beaten off of his body.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's loaded very heavily with the subtext of the Chilean coup.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chilean coup was bankrolled by the CIA. And Jonah is a CIA agent trying to be the good guy in the CIA, you know. and how doing CIA war crimes made him feel sad.
Hmm.
It's so fucking tasteless.
I
It, it, his lore just reads like he should be the killer, not her.
like
Like,
there's a way like I kind of understand what they were trying to go for, but there's a way to
yeah,
do it, and they fumbled it so
they
hard.
did. Like, Jonah would have been just kind of run of the mill, kind of an interesting survivor if they'd have kept him, if he'd have released not with Carmina, but released with her. It just feels so tasteless and bland and disrespectful to the memory of the
Hmm.
people who died in the Pinochet takeover at the CIA's hands and at Pinochet's hands. It feels it was sickening to like think about. Like, these were real people not that long ago
Hmm.
who died because of the CIA and because of Pinochet. And Jonah's law trivializes that into just like, oh well, it made the person doing it feel sad. Like, I don't care. Like, our killer is the victim and the survivor is working for the organization that victimized her entire country. It, 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 it's
It's tone deaf.
it's really tone deaf. I cannot stand it. Yeah, I'm a Jonah hater, and will be till the day I fucking die. But killer, that's a more difficult question. I think it's between two, and I think the difference is character versus plot.
Hmm.
Character, it's Hag.
That's who I thought you were gonna say was Hag.
Plot, it's Singularity.
Okay.
Because Hag doesn't have a character. She never has. She had a tome and still didn't get a character.
Then we're going on a 2 hour rant about it. It's
Yeah, I did a video about it. One of my first videos ever was about that. And Singularity is a pretty interesting character on paper. Like, you like this trans allegory robot who's
Mhm.
sentient and is immediately terrified of being sentient, and like all the implications that might have, and how like interactions with the humans that built it have changed since it's become sentient. That's a really cool idea.
Mhm.
But the story literally doesn't make sense from sentence to sentence.
Mhm.
Like, it's just is it. There are like there are stories that are unconvincing, or that are tacky, or that are derivative in DBD's history, but Singularity has the only stupid story that's outright incoherent at times, and shares it with Gabriel, which makes it even more incoherent because it doesn't even make sense when you compare the two. It's 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 bad, man. Like, and Singularities, and things with Hag, a good tome could save Hag because you can bring the character to life a little bit. You can do some more with that. There's bits there. There's bits there that you can put. Like, you all got to do is give the character a character, and you can do that easily. Any story set, like for the Hag, could give her that. Singularity, you can't fix that because that's just the way the story is. The events don't make sense,
Mhm.
and unless you're going to retcon it, what can you do?
Well,
So I think the worst is Hag. The one I dislike the most is Singularity. That's the way I'm going to put it.
again, and in a different way, much like with Jonah, it's like the idea was there. It's just they just did it in such a bad way,
Yeah,
in a different way from how they did
yeah.
Jonah's.
And Singularity is in an unfixable way.
Yeah.
Like, again, Hag you can fix, and I actually have an original character that I'm writing myself. Hopefully, getting in a video soon. I said this in a merchant video, I think, as well, in the merchant podcast, I think, as well. But
Mhm.
I'm working on a chapter concept series where I take characters from DBD's lore and like build a chapter around them.
Mhm.
And I'm actually doing my first one of these is based on Hag's lore, and taking a killer and survivor from her lore and expanding it into their own chapter. Like, there are ways you can expand Hag's story to make her more interesting in retrospect.
Mhm.
Can't do that with Singularity because the events that are around Singularity in Gabriel's life just don't make sense, and that's just sad.
Fair enough. Um, moving on a bit. So the next one is trying to pick one of spoilers because they asked three. I'm trying to give each person only one.
Of course.
uh, From spoiler alert, thoughts on the connections visually between the portal scene in Casting of Frank Stone and in the Forgotten Ruins.
I hadn't really thought about it. I'll be honest.
I
Um,
mean, Frank Stone kind of eluded a lot of us after like the first week. To be fair.
yes. Um, I didn't really notice it, but no, no. Think about it. I think it makes a lot of sense as like with the whole idea of the portals in Frankstone being gateways between different dimensions,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what Frankstone is. He's a compilation of all the different versions of him from all throughout these different universes,
Mm-hmm.
and like and the Forgotten Ruins portals are like looking and acting in a similar way. I think does make sense. Like if this is what a hole in a dimension looks like, because remember it's the same lighting as the void as well. That like that puce. So that like sorry the kind of dark turquoise type color. I think it makes sense because if that's the catch-all symbol for hey, this is the color of traveling between universes via like the stuff in between,
Mm-hmm.
then I guess that makes sense. That ties all three of them together. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going with. It's like hey, this turquoisey color is the color of going between universes. You know?
Mm. That makes sense. I mean, obviously, I don't know how much involvement Behavior had with Frank Stone, but the development timeline makes sense.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to pull the other questions, and now I have to open OBS to switch scenes. Uh, from that fish guy. You fucking kidding me? Why do
That's
you
Totem.
hate Chucky, Pixel? You can be
Well, I kind
honest.
of
This is a safe place.
like I kind of don't now.
Oh,
Like
oh, fair enough.
I just don't really care.
Okay.
Like as awkward as that is, it's like he is another dash killer and not particularly mechanically interesting to me.
Mhm.
I've never really loved the film, but never really disliked them either. I like the show and I like some of the movies. I it's been a rare time where I've enjoyed playing against a Chucky. A rare day. But I don't have a visceral hatred for Chucky. I think I get this a lot, honestly. Where people think I hate the killers that I don't like,
Mhm.
and I think there's a big gap between not liking a killer and hating them. And I think Chucky fits comfortably in that gap.
Fair enough. I think it's similar to me with ironically with Pinhead. People think I hate Pin. I've gone on record and said that Pinhead is one of the best design killers in the game.
Yeah, doesn't mean you have to like him.
Yeah, but I still hate him.
That's completely reasonable. Like, it doesn't mean you have to like him. Like, I will say quite comfortably that his vibes are immaculate.
Who, Chucky?
Yeah, Chucky's vibes are awesome. They really do fit the character. He's a very smooth translation
Mm-hmm.
with the voice lines and the animations, like the sound design, the score events, the Mori. It artistically comes together very, very well. It doesn't create a result that I particularly care about.
He's the first like comedy-esque killer they've really done.
Yes, yes.
Like, could
It's like
argue.
Nick Cage is our comedy survivor and Chuck is our comedy killer.
Yeah, that's why I link them together. To me, that Nick is Chucky's survivor.
Yeah,
Just makes the most sense.
but yeah, it's it's more just apathy, you know. It's
No, no, fair enough. Fair enough.
it's just apathy. It's similar to like I think like people think this is way more for like Wesker though. People think I hate Wesker. I don't hate Wesker. I just hate RE5.
I think that's
But yeah,
worse. I think people hate you more for hating RE5.
yeah. Well, anyone whose favorite RE game is RE5, I'm at least comfortable they're not old enough to vote. So all I'm gonna do is like go on the like I'll debate them on one of those roller coasters that have a height limit so that I know they can't get on and fight me.
I like playing it with a friend.
I played it with Roby when I made my Wesker video, and it's like, wow, this game is exactly the game I remember it being, and I don't mean that in a good way.
It was the most sold RE game for years. Just remember that.
Yeah, Yeah. Okay. And
Okay, and
oh yeah,
and we wonder why RE6 happened. We wonder why RE6 happened.
Yep.
uh, from Magical, what is your view regarding the we didn't get the we already went over this, but the we didn't get a real pirate with Houndmaster. Um, I think we I think we both kind of went on our
Yeah, we're pretty. I like you. You were more extreme on it than I was,
again. It's
which I
like
fully respect. You know what? And you're real for that. You're
yeah,
very real for that.
it's my fucking heritage. I hate it when people. Anyways, uh, since we already talked about that a bit. Yeah, magical. We kind of went over a lot of these questions, but most of them are talking about the balance changes and whether or not we agree with the buffs or if you agree with the buffs and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think you've been pretty clear. Everything except for the vault change, particularly.
Yeah, and maybe the cooldown. Like I wouldn't be upset with them reverting the cooldown buff because the exit gate scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly they've been pretty good.
Oh yeah, and I have to. Yeah, someone reminded me. I do have to bring this up because I asked this question every podcast. I didn't ask you last time.
Of course.
uh, did the survivor dodge or does the killer miss?
In the case of Houndmaster,
Mm-hmm.
I think the killer missed more often than many Houndmaster players would like to admit.
Okay.
Like, obviously, survivors can dodge, and at longer ranges, they most certainly can. But if they're in a situation where they can dodge easily, you probably put your dog in the wrong place. So,
What would you
yeah, I think more often than not, the killer is missing.
what would you classify as like the determining factor?
If you're trying to get a redirect hit in a straight line, like if you like, I think it's a case of like, I'm actually about to show that there's going to be a clip probably playing right now of showing how to use a redirect properly.
Yeah,
And this is when a survivor will be dodging if it didn't get hit by it.
yeah, it went around the car.
Yeah, it went around the entire like tile via like a wall and traveling through space time continuum to get that hit. But like, if the survivor doesn't get hit by that, then yes, the survivor dodged. But a lot of the time, people are just sending Snug out in a straight line and then redirecting and sending him in the same straight line, just as a longer range, or like doubling back onto themselves in the open at a decent range, which means Snug is very reactable. And it's like yes, they did technically dodge you then when you didn't hit them, but they only dodged you because you let them do it.
Yeah,
Like, you can stop Snug movement whenever you like. That gives you a lot of freedom that other dash killers don't have. But when they start and stop their dashes and when they change direction, you have more control of your direction than any other directional dash killer. And if you're not using that, then you've missed. Even if they dodge you, you've missed because you've let them.
I think you gave one of the most nuanced answers to that question I've ever heard.
Yeah, like, I think a lot of people will they think Houndmaster is more reactable than she is because they're bad, or because it's because they're not creative.
Well, I'll admit it. I straight up said it in my impressions video. I was like, this could just be a skill issue. I could just be bad at the killer, and I'm willing to admit it.
I think, like, aside from the vault stuff, she's fucking hard. Like, yeah, you'll lose a lot when you start playing her because she's a difficult killer, and you shouldn't be ashamed of that. Like, it's about learning. It's not about winning.
I love this next question.
Okay, let's go.
From Leon Love. Do you think the devs perfectly timed the release of Houndmaster and the Skull Merchant execution, in quotes, to make sure you wouldn't be too miserable until they fix her?
I'm going to be more cynical here and say that they sent out Houndmaster as a distraction, because they knew that if they killed Merchant and then didn't release another killer that would fit with me, then there would be nothing to distract me.
A lot of Skull Merchant players actually didn't move.
A lot of them did. Yeah, I know. I know Leechy and Zach. Both of them really like her. I love her. But in both cases, they've got like a distinct micromanagement element. Like, put the thing in the middle of the tile and then you manage it from there, which is pretty innovative. like the mid tile tracking that Merchant and Houndmaster both share, plus also a lot of the design similarities, the kind of fantasy of just being this powerful, wealthy, but ultimately ordinary person who uses their cunning and ruthlessness as their like tool of as their weapon more than any actual armaments or powers. There's a lot I think that they do have in common. Not as much as people think, but there is still definitely a lot of stuff in common. But I also know that if this killer had been a flop for me, if they hadn't worked for me in the way they have, I would be very miserable. And especially knowing what's coming next over the next few months, I don't know how much my interest in DBD would be able to maintain itself, because I fully expect, aside from the Freddy rework, maybe, that I'm going to be in a bit of a dry spell for quite some time in terms of interesting content. I've seen, obviously we know that FNAF is coming, I don't care for FNAF. We know that I've seen the leaks for the IP and the power for the March chapter.
Same.
That doesn't interest me either. Arguably interests me even less than FNAF does. I know I'm gonna, and even we all know that we've all heard by now, even that like people are trying to say that the third chapter in the year is going to be fucking Jurassic Park. I'm like, please, dear God, no. So I'm fully expecting my interest in new DPD releases to tank through the floor over the next 6 to 9 months or even a year. And I know if Houndmaster wasn't here to tide me over until the Merchant rework comes, I would be outside Behavior's offices with waving a Brazilian flag at them.
I'm holding you to that.
We'll see. But now, Houndmaster's giving me something to chew on until the Merchant rework comes. And it's not like I'm not playing Merchant anymore. I absolutely still am. I'm probably playing her even more than Houndmaster to this, since the buffs, I'll be honest. I've played her less since the buffs than I ever did before them, because I just feel almost bad, because I was destroying people before the buffs came, and now a lot of the time it doesn't even feel like right, it feels wrong.
I got you. It's
because I know she's being changed again soon, so it just feels like I'm almost abusing a bug. The bug being that the killer is a high 8.
I mean, it was like the when Chucky was bugged to he was able to 180 scamper through windows for a little bit there. Not at the start. This was a recent change, and I was like, yeah, I'm not playing this killer. I don't care how much I love him. This just isn't fair or fun for anybody.
Whereas I'm here with my fresh occupant of D tier. I'm like, yeah, let's go. My new killer with a ton of depth that I really want to learn is high A tier. She's never going to be better than this. Or I could drive my year-old barely functional garbage truck of a killer out of the garage and take her for a spin again. I'm like, it's not even close. Come on.
Next question is, do you think search mode should only be able to target gens and doors? I feel the search mode is really only used for targeting. Wait, hang on. I'm sorry. Do you think the search mode should be able to target gens and doors, etc.? I feel that search mode is really only used for targeting these things, and having it not initially lock onto them makes it feel... Oh, do you think it should only be able to lock on? Is what they're asking.
That would feel really clunky. And I think it would, especially, I don't see why that would be a necessary limitation. It would probably make it feel more intuitive to pick up on a first game or two, but I also think it would take away some potential use cases. Say if you know where a slug is, you can send Snug to the area first, check if anyone's near the slug, while then you then speed over to that slug. I think it would also mean that using the haste mid-chase on the rare occasions that you can would be dead, because unless we're chasing around generator for some reason, I think it would take away more than it would give. Especially if you know the tricks, you can get it to lock on consistently to whatever you want it to. You have to wiggle your her pointing hand above the object and then down on top of it. Then it'll work for you fine. But I didn't see what benefit taking away options would give to the killer, other than just making it easier to understand on a bare bones level.
Fair enough. I kind of agree. And only a couple more, I promise.
Of course.
From your local P100 Xenomorph on Twitter, do you what a name? Do you think reducing the grab time to 4 seconds from 8 would be a good change?
No.
Okay.
That makes no sense to me. I don't know why you'd want that.
I I would assume it's so it's not a guaranteed hit, which it technically isn't now because of pallet stuns. So
The thing is, you've hit them with a fairly narrow projectile that they could dodge. It should hit them.
yeah,
like, bear in mind, any other dash killer would just take a health state there. Like the
exactly.
fact that they're even giving you an extra step at all to like have the dog drag you around by itself, that is already giving a survivor more wiggle room than they probably technically should get.
And again, if someone's right next to you, you can
Yeah,
just
like would be such a that makes no sense to me. Like that would you'd probably at that point it's almost not worth using your power because you lose distance using it because you stand still while redirecting and you slow down while winding up. So like, what point would that even have? To, yeah, that seems like a really, really, really questionable idea. I'm sorry if it's sounding at all rude,
no,
Monet,
you're fine. You're
but
fine.
it just it feels like adding an unnecessary caveat when Houndmaster already gives you more opportunities than other killers in her weight class to interact with you.
Okay. Next from Smug is do you think Snug should teleport to you more often? Like when you charge up the chase attack, should you be able to recall Snug during should you be able to recall Snug early during a search?
I don't think so. I think that kind of makes it too free.
Yeah, I like that
Like
it's
if you
committal.
send Snug, especially because it basically has no cooldown now.
Mhm.
If you send Snug to the wrong place, you should be punished for it. I think.
Yeah, I like that it's committal. It's
Yeah, I'll let you have to commit to that. It's what makes her not just like Wraith, where you
mhm,
just go, do, I'm fast now, do whatever you want.
exactly. Yeah.
Especially because her power is quite non-committal. So having to commit to your searched path, I think, will be great.
Mhm. Plus, yeah, I tell people this all the time with the. I mentioned this with Discordance because some people don't run Discordance because they're like, well, survivors don't stackable gen, so it doesn't do anything. If you don't get info from Hound Sense when you send Snug to a gen, you're still getting info. You know they're not there.
Yeah.
So,
There is one change I'd make to Hound Sense though.
mhm.
I think when you issue a command, either search or chase, you should get killer instinct on everybody who's currently Hound Sensed.
Hmm,
It depends because it feels odd that the by far the least useful part about search mode is its ability to search.
fair enough. Yeah.
Just like a little bit extra tracking wouldn't over long range. Like you find somebody and then you use a command and you find them again. That would not hurt at all. I'd like that.
I kind of I feel like if they did something like that, you'd have to have some way for Hound Sense to go down faster, so the survivor has.
But what it already doesn't last very long. 45 seconds.
Yeah.
It's less. It's the same duration as a merchant claw trap battery. And obviously you do lose it when you drop a health state anyway. So like, remember when you need to send the dog out, it would mark you. You'd have to come back, and then you'd have to do it again.
Mhm.
But yeah, like House just doesn't do a lot at the moment anyway. Like it's most useful as a vehicle for your add-ons
Fair enough.
to apply to apply the actual good effects,
Mhm.
like Oblivious or whatnot. But I think if you were ever going to buff her, like compensate her for the nerfs to chase that she will be getting, I think you would want to add a bit more tracking to search mode.
Okay. Well, Pixel, that's all the questions. Do you have anything else you want to add before we start wrapping this up?
Not really. Thank you for having me on again.
Hmm.
The Yahoo about a second killer I've really like become enamored with. Yeah, Merchant is still my number one, but it at least brings me some comfort knowing that should I end up wanting to drop Merchant for good, or if behavior ends up forcing her out of my fucking cold dead hands at last, with a rework that turns her into like I don't know Wesker 7 or Demogorgon 14, then I'll have something I can fall back on. I'm working on a very long guide for her in the Venom Merchant guide at the moment.
Hmm.
My Merchant 1.5 guide is my current priority, but I'm hoping to get to maybe have it done by in the first half of next year.
Hmm.
It'll be a while in the production because I've got a lot I want to do for it, and I'm moving house and what. But it'll be worth it, I hope.
Well, I wish you luck on that. And again, the Houndmaster guide will be below if anyone hasn't seen it. I don't know how
Yeah,
it happens.
it's a much smaller one. It's 20 minutes, so it's a reasonable video length and not my normal, like, feature length
I
abomination.
like the
Was.
I like the long length ones. Okay, I'm just saying.
Oh, don't worry, a long length one is definitely coming, just not soon.
But Pixel, I'll let you go. If you guys don't know where to find Pixel, all the links will be below. But Pixel Bush on YouTube. Again, if you're here, I don't know how you don't know. I honestly, if you know me and not Pixel, I'm honored, but I don't know how. But
You're too kind.
But in any case, for those on the YouTubes, I love you guys. Have a good one, and bye.
So, yeah.